A student with a basketball urges his friend to hurry as lunch is almost over, but his classmate is frantically trying to finish his work, begging for just a bit more time. Leaving the basketball player to watch, unimpressed by the frantic scribbling he sees. Deciding it is too cold anyway, he suggests they just stay inside for the day, then suddenly tells his friend he needs to change his name to something cooler. This studious friend, confused, asks what he should change it to, sparking a lighthearted debate. Meanwhile, their conversation drifts to a strange phrase about flowers and jealousy, overheard by others who mock the poetic but twisted logic from outside the classroom, where the unseen speakers talk about destroying flowers out of jealousy for the sky, claiming they learned this bizarre philosophy from books and online videos. This triggers a dark thought in the basketball player, who now smirks ominously, just as his friend finally finishes his work, ready to play at last. But the first boy wonders if someone came after them for a similarly twisted reason. Their moment is interrupted when the teacher enters, announcing a self-study session, crushing the studious friend's hopes of playing ball as he slumps over his desk in defeat. In the classroom, a female student frantically searches her bag, annoyed at something she has lost. She explains that something she left in her desk has been stolen, leaving her frustrated, and a sudden thought strikes the boy with glasses as he remembers something crucial. Immediately, she suspects someone was at her desk, but her friend denies it was the usual culprit. Meanwhile, another student asks a dark-haired boy named Ishin about a missing phone. This teacher interrupts the chatter, telling the students to quiet their disruptive love quarrel, ordering them to either sleep or study without disturbing the rest of the class. And the boy with glasses reflects on how this was just another ordinary, uneventful day. But that sense of normalcy is immediately shattered when he notices something strange happening, as dark, stringy particles begin to descend from the sky outside the classroom window. He tries to get his friend's attention, pointing frantically at the bizarre phenomenon outside, his expression shifting from confusion to pure terror as he processes what he is seeing. Suddenly, the teacher hurls an object across the room, striking a student with shocking force, and the entire class freezes in stunned silence, shocked by the teacher's violent outburst. Their faces fill with disbelief and horror as the ordinary day descends into total chaos. This teacher reacts with utter disbelief, stunned by the sudden commotion outside. A scarred student stands abruptly, thinking a war must have just broken out, because down on the school's field, a bizarre fleshy creature has crash-landed, a grotesque, writhing mass of flesh and teeth screaming silently on the grass, and the entire class rushes to the window, horrified by the disgusting sight, while their teacher frantically tries to get everyone to settle down and stay calm. But his own panic grows as he stares at his phone, realizing something is terribly wrong. His urgent message to the school administration simply is not going through at all. Students jostle for a better view of the chaos, speculating it must be an alien. This scarred student's expression, however, is grim as he senses a much deeper danger. Then a strange, dark sphere suddenly materializes in the middle of the classroom. A silent, ominous orb hanging suspended in the air, drawing everyone's complete attention. And the students can only stare up at it, completely baffled by this new phenomenon, just as the teacher orders an immediate evacuation to the faculty room for safety. But one student remains seated at his desk, furiously scribbling something in a notebook. A blonde-haired student calls out to Kim Sujin, noticing she is shivering violently at her desk. Her deathly pale face and labored breathing send a jolt of panic through him. Desperately trying to help, he asks what is wrong as she mutters about being cold and scared. Suddenly, a classmate with glasses grabs his shoulder, yelling at him to wait and stay back. Ignoring the warning, he reaches for the sick girl, just as a strange black orb materializes nearby. His eyes widen in confusion and fear, completely baffled by the floating black sphere. At that moment, Kim Sujin's head lifts, revealing two empty black voids where her eyes should be. Recoiling in absolute horror, he screams at the transformed girl, demanding to know what she is. Other students watch from the window in disbelief, questioning what is happening to their classmate. Then her body contorts violently, her jaw unhinging into a grotesque maw as the orb fuses with her head. This glasses-wearing student can only stare, his mind struggling to process the horrific sight. Thrown to the floor, the blonde student scrambles back in pure terror as a shadow looms over him. All around the room, the other students begin to petrify, their skin cracking like stone. A monstrous, inhuman hand slams down onto a desk, splintering the wood with its sheer force. Revealing the fully transformed creature, a skeletal horror now perched atop the desks, dominating the room. This transformed creature lets out a low growl, its monstrous form now complete. Paralyzed with fear, the remaining students can only stare at the horror before them. In the stunned silence, a book slips from someone's grasp and hits the floor. Panic finally breaks the silence as students scream, pointing at the terrifying creature. A chaotic scramble erupts as everyone desperately tries to flee the room at once. Amid the frantic stampede, the boy with glasses is shoved hard, his vision blurred. Fumbling with his crooked glasses, he desperately calls out for his friend Hongjin. His attention is drawn to a female classmate on the floor, pleading for someone to help her. Rushing to her side, he asks if she is injured, but she is just paralyzed by terror. A flash of frustration crosses his face as he realizes they are wasting precious time. Just then, the monster begins its advance, forcing students to scramble over desks to escape. With a terrifying shriek, the creature lashes out with a shadowy tendril. A desperate mob of students surges toward the classroom exit, their only hope of survival. But one student is not fast enough, getting violently struck and thrown aside by the attack. This blonde student, who tried to help before, glances back in absolute shock and disbelief. This creature strikes first, slamming a student to the floor with a shadowy limb. Watching the horrific scene unfold, the remaining students scream in absolute terror, and a desperate stampede for the exit begins as chaos erupts in the hallway. Its victim is lifted into the air, impaled and screaming defiantly at the beast, dangling helplessly as the monster calmly observes its captured prey. Then its massive, tooth-filled maw opens wide, ready to devour him whole. Nearby, the boy with glasses shields another student, both frozen in fear. His mind completely shattering at the unbelievable carnage before his eyes. With a sickening crunch, the creature bites down, ending the boy's life instantly. Leaving his lifeless body to hang from its jaws, a final plea for help unheard. Dark tendrils envelop the corpse, seemingly absorbing it into the black orb, and after consuming its meal, the monster lets out a silent, triumphant roar. This classroom falls eerily silent as the creature perches calmly atop the desks. While under a table, the boy with glasses desperately muffles his friend's panicked cries. Just as the monster's head turns, its attention drawn by some unknown sound. Hiding beneath the desks, a boy desperately silences his terrified classmate from making a sound. As the headless creature's form solidifies, a black orb hovering ominously above its gaping maw. This orb then settles into place like a single, terrifying eye, completing the monstrous transformation. Elsewhere, a burly student in a bathroom is annoyed by the distant, rumbling chaos. While his gray-haired friend casually smokes, joking that the school must be collapsing, both of them completely oblivious to the true horror unfolding just classrooms away. This delinquent then smirks, daring his friend to go touch the creature outside for money, but the other boy vehemently refuses, wanting no part of the strange disturbance. Staring out the window with a smug look, the gray-haired student dismisses it all as a joke, his eyes landing on the grotesque monster still writhing on the school's soccer field. Suddenly, he turns back to his confused friend, a new thought crossing his mind, and a wicked grin spreads across his face as he announces he has just had a brilliant idea. At their feet lies another student, knocked unconscious, whom he orders his friend to wake up. His friend asks if he is planning to kill the boy, but the delinquent simply denies it, explaining with a sinister look that he has found a way to satisfy his own twisted curiosity. A student's feet trudge nervously across the school's grassy field, revealing a blindfolded and bruised boy named Chialman stumbling forward in confusion. He flinches upon hearing his bullies, who mock him from a nearby balcony, where the two tormentors smirk while filming his every agonizing move with a phone. Though one of them starts to get nervous, worrying they're taking this too far, because Chialman is being forced to walk directly toward a massive, monstrous creature. But the ringleader scoffs at his friend's fear, noting the beast is not even moving, then coldly orders his accomplice to shut up and just keep recording the event. Pressured by their threats, the blindfolded boy takes another hesitant step forward, nearly losing his balance as he struggles against the overwhelming terror he feels. He forces himself to calm down, trying to steel his nerves for what is to come, and finally reaches out a trembling hand to touch the creature's spiky hide. Meanwhile, inside a classroom, two other students hide under a desk in silence. As a different kind of monster materializes, a headless brute with a black orb floating above it, and the orb sinks into its body, causing its chest maw to open wide with a silent roar. This boy with glasses stares in absolute horror, realizing their hiding spot is useless. Towering over them, the grotesque creature perches on the desks, its gaze fixed on its prey. He screams at his classmate to run, trying to snap her out of her panicked state. But the monster's orb head pulses as it prepares to strike with blinding speed. Its spindly fingers dig into a desk, bracing for a powerful, destructive lunge. With a silent roar, it smashes through the furniture, sending a wave of destruction toward them. Debris narrowly misses the boy's face as he recoils from the violent impact, leaving a cloud of dust and a gaping hole where the classroom wall once stood. He turns back to the girl, knowing they have to escape through the opening now. But she is completely catatonic, crying for her mother in absolute despair. Her mind has completely shattered, leaving her unable to move or even think straight. And a nervous glance over his shoulder confirms their time is rapidly running out. This monster is already on the floor, crawling relentlessly toward the two trapped students. A grim realization dawns on his face as he processes their impossible situation. Watching her tremble, he wonders if they can both possibly make it out of this alive. A student lies motionless on the floor, surrounded by scattered debris, while nearby, a pair of feet takes a single, deliberate step forward. And another girl cowers against the wall, trembling as a classmate scrambles over a desk to escape. Tears stream down her face as she weakly whispers for her mother, because the skeletal monster now looms directly over her, ready to strike. Her terror finally erupts into a piercing, desperate scream. Just then, the classroom door slides open, someone demanding to know what the noise is about, as a muscular man with a baseball bat dismisses it all as a childish prank. But his smug expression vanishes as he finally sees the creature inside the room. A shadowy tendril whips out, striking him before he can even react as he yells for police, severing his arm clean off and sending his hand flying through the air. This monster simply watches from atop the desks, observing the bloody chaos it created, while the terrified girl remains frozen on the floor, desperately trying to think of who to call. Overwhelmed by pure horror, her pleas for help turn into incoherent screams, her mind breaking as she whispers over and over that she does not want to die. This boy with glasses yanks Hangjin to her feet, her face streaked with tears and terror. He supports his terrified friend, angrily demanding to know where she was during the chaos. Through her sobs, she explains she was trapped in the bathroom when it all started. Nearby, another student lies motionless on the floor next to a discarded baseball bat. Back in the classroom, the skeletal monster scans the room for any remaining survivors. It suddenly lunges toward another student who is mid-transformation with a black orb by their head. This creature's massive jaw snaps shut, catching the new victim in its teeth. Consuming its prey, the monster seems to absorb the dark energy from the orb. Moments later, the classroom is completely empty, a scene of silent, overturned desks. This camera slowly pans across the wreckage toward a tall cabinet in the corner. Huddled inside, the two students tremble as she whispers about hearing footsteps approaching. His own fear turns to anger as he threatens to abandon her to save himself. They argue in hushed tones about who should risk peeking outside to check for danger. Overcome with relief, she thanks him for saving her life, admitting she thought it was the end. He dismisses her gratitude, his expression hardening as a new, grim thought takes hold. Hiding in a locker, the blonde girl confronts him, accusing him of trying to abandon her. And they argue in hushed whispers, her accusing him of running while he pleads for quiet. Looking completely stressed, he apologizes and promises to make it up to her later. But their tense argument is cut short by the chilling silence of the empty classroom. Suddenly, a monstrous hand slams down on the floor right outside their hiding spot. Frozen in fear, they debate whether the creature has finally left the room. This skeletal horror is still there, crouching silently amidst the overturned desks and chairs. With a trembling hand, the boy slowly pushes the locker door open just a crack. And both of them peek out, their eyes widening in absolute terror at what they see. Huddled together in the cramped space, they are completely exposed to the danger outside. For the monster's gaping maw is pressed right against their locker, its orbi staring in. Realizing they are trapped, he understands that leaving or staying both mean certain death. His mind spirals into panic, desperately searching for a way out of this impossible situation. But then a sudden change in the atmosphere makes him look up in confusion, because the space in front of their locker is now mysteriously, unnervingly empty. He stares into the darkness, desperately wondering if the monster has finally left. Through the crack in the door, he sees nothing, daring to hope they are safe. But his trembling hand betrays his fear, even as he whispers that it is gone. Suddenly, a deep rumbling sound begins to shake their tiny hiding spot, causing the girl to erupt into a fresh wave of panicked, horrified screams, while he clutches his head, begging for the terrifying noise to finally stop. Outside, the school building stands silent against a clear blue sky for just a moment, before a violent explosion rips through the wall, shattering the comm completely. Meanwhile on the field, Chialman's feet are planted firmly in the grass, as the blindfolded boy finally makes contact with the massive creature's hide. His fingers brushing against its cold, alien skin with a hesitant touch. Immediately, dark tendrils of energy erupt from the point of contact, startling him, which only makes his tormentors on the balcony laugh, thrilled he actually did it, leaving Chialman to scream out in confusion and pain toward his bullies. This ringleader just grins, ordering his friend to keep filming the boy's reaction. From the balcony, the bully taunts his victim below to remove the blindfold after touching the monster, his friend laughing manically at the cruel prank they have orchestrated. But the ringleader's amusement quickly turns to confusion as he notices something amiss. A massive explosion suddenly rips through a classroom wall in the distance, causing the blindfolded Chialman to flinch, startled by the deafening sound. He turns toward the chaos, completely unaware of the creature right beside him. Just as the skeletal monster from inside bursts onto the field, flinging a body, this victim's red blindfold is torn away, flying through the air amidst the destruction. Up on the balcony, the gray-haired bully stares in absolute shock, his cruel game ruined. Elsewhere, other students peer through a window, wondering about the commotion, their eyes landing on the strange, fleshy monster sitting motionless on the grass. And one girl points in disbelief, realizing there is a person standing near it. From their high vantage point, they see the lone student approaching the beast. A crowd gathers at the window, questioning who would be so reckless, watching as the boy gets closer, seemingly about to touch the grotesque creature. In another classroom, students stare out the window, their faces masks of pure horror. A single eye widens in terror, a cold sweat beating on the student's face. As the entire class gathers, drawn to the unbelievable and terrifying sight below, this skeletal monster smashes through the school wall in a shower of glass and concrete. Meanwhile, the blindfolded Chialman stands confused before the massive creature on the field, his muffled questions lost as pure terror grips him under the blindfold. Suddenly, the beast he is touching erupts with dark, violent energy, shooting into the sky. Back inside, a student tries to push his classmates away from the shattered window, but they can only watch, frozen in shock at the carnage unfolding outside. This skeletal creature that broke through the wall lets out another silent, terrifying roar, sending the classroom into a full-blown panic as students scream for their parents. This monster now prowls the school grounds, its attention fixed on the building. On the balcony, the lead bully abandons his prank, screaming at his friend to run for his life. Their classroom is left in ruins, a testament to the creature's destructive power. Elsewhere, the boy with glasses and his friend hide in a dusty closet, believing they have survived. Hangjin is still shaking, admitting she was so scared she thought her life was over. He looks out through the destroyed wall, surveying the unbelievable damage. Crawling to the edge, he tells her the monster is now on the school's soccer field. His gaze fixes on the field below, a sense of unease growing within him. Down on the grass, the massive creature sits perfectly still, an unsettling sight. Suddenly, screams erupt from the hallway as other students flee in a desperate panic. This impossible situation dawns on Hangjin, with chaos inside and a monster outside. She grabs his arm, insisting they have to run now before the creature returns. Overwhelmed by the screams, he freezes, wondering where they could possibly escape to. His friend desperately suggests they just head outside, anywhere but here. But the thought of going outside leads back to the motionless horror on the field. Standing by the broken wall, he wonders where the other students are running to. Recalling the sheer terror on their faces, he realizes they are running without any real plan. A new plan forms and he tells Hangjin they should head for the school's infirmary. Just then, another student appears, telling them there is no need to go anywhere. A smug student named Kim Ishin appears, remarking on the classroom's sorry state. This boy with glasses confronts him, but Ishin casually claims he was just worried about him. Hangjin asks about the creature on the field, learning it is another student named Sujin. This revelation sends her friend into a panic, completely unable to process the news. She then questions why they'd go to the infirmary, realizing their plan is now useless. Ishin interrupts, holding up his phone to show them all communication is completely dead, which leaves his brother stunned as Ishin calmly takes control of the situation. Looking out at the field, they wonder if the motionless monster will eventually attack them. He insists they find a truly safe place to hide and wait for rescue to arrive. But Hangjin desperately asks if he even has a destination in mind for them. They quickly debate their options. The auditorium or the rooftop seem like the only choices. A tense silence falls over the three survivors as they stand frozen in the ruined room. Ishin dismisses their suggestions, telling them there is something important he needs to say. But the boy with glasses argues they are out of time and need to move immediately. Cutting them off, Ishin demands they consider the worst. What if they are trapped here for a month? This newcomer scoffs at their plan, estimating rescue will not arrive for at least 2 or 3 days. Angrily, the boy with glasses points to the wreckage, insisting they find a sturdier shelter. This dark-haired student questions their logic, asking why they are even thinking of hiding. His friend's logic leaves him baffled, questioning the very idea of being rescued. Frustrated, Hangjin points out the grim reality, questioning if a rescue team could even reach them. But the newcomer confidently predicts a helicopter will arrive within the hour to save them. She challenges his certainty, asking what happens if that promised help never arrives. A bead of sweat forms as he realizes the terrifying weight of her question. This newcomer makes a decision, suggesting they move to the cafeteria for safety. Just as they agree on a destination, Hangjin suddenly stumbles, her body giving way. Her friend immediately grabs her arm to steady her, asking if she is okay. Turning back, the dark-haired student asks what is wrong, recalling this happened to her before. Her eyes are wide with fear, admitting she thought the talking had calmed her nerves. Worriedly, he asks if she can still walk, and she tries to reassure him she is fine. But the desperate, trembling grip on his arm reveals the true extent of her terror. He reassures Hangjin that everyone is terrified, urging her to keep moving forward. Stealing her nerves, she confirms she can walk on her own as they agree to make a run for it. A final glance back at the ruined classroom reveals the monster still sitting on the field. This three of them race desperately up the nearest flight of stairs, seeking any escape route. As they run, he asks if the rooftop is open, recalling it is a common spot for delinquents. This other student turns back, questioning if he is sure about heading toward the roof. Taking the lead, the boy with glasses pushes past them, insisting they hurry up the stairs. But a sudden realization hits the other student as he follows them up with dawning horror. They finally reach the rooftop door, hoping someone has already picked the lock for them. But his hand meets a locked doorknob, their only escape route completely sealed off. This new student yanks on the door in a panic as their hopes of escape are crushed. Meanwhile, smoke begins to rise from buildings all across the distant city skyline. On the other side of the door, other students are already gathered on the rooftop. Among them are the gray-haired bully and his friend, calmly observing the chaos below. This tension is high as one student panics, only to be told to shut up by another survivor. A dark-haired student observes the other survivors, questioning if they all expect a helicopter rescue. As they join the others, Hangjin comments on their terrified expressions, a sight he expected. Suddenly, the boy with glasses freezes, cursing under his breath at something he has just noticed. His gaze drops to the ground as he mutters that their situation is far worse than they thought. Confused, the others demand an explanation, but he just stares ahead, doubting any rescue is coming. He then raises a hand, pointing toward the city skyline to show them the reason why. Following his gesture, their eyes land on a distant skyscraper with smoke billowing from it. Perched atop the building is another grotesque monster, its maw wide open in a silent scream. Their faces drain of color as he realizes it is the same type of creature from their school field. This horrifying revelation crushes the dark-haired student, who sinks to the ground in utter despair. He clutches his head, his hope shattering as he questions why he was left all alone. Just then, he notices the gray-haired bully from the balcony, trembling on the ground nearby. This bully is completely broken, screaming for his friend to stop the prank and come down now. But far in the distance, the silent monster remains perched, a symbol of their citywide doom. Elsewhere on another rooftop, a boy on his phone and a girl stand watch as a heavy thud echoes nearby. This boy with glasses clutches the railing, panting that this cannot possibly be real. But another student explains the chaos they are seeing now is nothing compared to what happened earlier. Her words sending a chill down his spine as he questions what she meant by chaos. This scene flashes to a nearby office building, a massive hole torn through its side, where inside a man lies motionless on the floor amidst the debris. Suddenly, a monstrous gray hand reaches through the shattered wall toward the body, its long, skeletal fingers clamping down hard on the man's head with a sickening thud, lifting the victim effortlessly from the ground as if he weighs nothing at all. And the body is then dragged out into the open air, vanishing completely from sight. Back on the rooftop, the boy with glasses grips the bars, his face pale with horror, frantically wondering if the same destruction has reached his own home, his own family. Nearby, other students tremble, asking if any of them are truly going to be okay. this sheer randomness of the attack leaving them stunned, questioning why it is happening here. And the terrifying possibility dawns that this is not just their city but the entire world. Just then Ishin approaches from behind, telling them they need to stop panicking and start acting. A new bully appears with his friend, telling him to shut up before he gets killed. He then turns his aggressive attention toward Hongjin and her friend, who are stunned. With a cruel sneer, he grabs her head, threatening to feed her to the monster below. She struggles against his grip as her friend watches, completely frozen in terror. This aggressor just smirks, enjoying the power he holds over them in this moment. But Ishin suddenly intervenes, slapping the bully's hand away with incredible force. This unexpected act of defiance leaves the boy with glasses absolutely speechless, while Hongjin stumbles backward from the shock, falling hard onto the rooftop floor. Touching the red mark on her cheek, she looks up in a daze, unable to process what happened. As Ishin stands over her, coldly asking the bully if he has completely lost his mind. Her friend quickly moves to shield her, trying to de-escalate the volatile situation. Ignoring him, Ishin cracks his knuckles, offering to let the boy take the next hit instead. Terrified by the offer, he can only stammer, wanting no part in the escalating violence. Just as the tension peaks, another student in a gray hoodie steps forward, telling them to stop. And a girl with short dark hair calmly tells everyone to get a grip on themselves. On the rooftop, the gray-haired bully and his friends immediately confront the newcomers, belittling them. A short-haired girl interrupts, scolding them for their behavior when a student just died outside. But the bully is completely unhinged, his mind shattered by the death of his friend Chialman. He turns his rage on another student, demanding answers, but the boy just stares back calmly. A crazed smile spreads across the bully's face as he challenges the other student to a fight. While nearby, the boy with glasses and Hongjin watch the confrontation, realizing this is a terrible distraction. Overwhelmed by the chaos, he can no longer make sense of their desperate situation. Suddenly, a few of the students look up, their attention drawn to something in the sky. A mysterious black sphere hangs motionless in the sky, an ominous and unexplained sight. He stares at the object, a look of dawning horror spreading across his face as he recognizes it. A horrifying memory flashes through his mind. That same sphere appeared right before a student transformed. Cold sweat pours down his face as the terrifying implication of the sphere's presence sinks in. Up in the sky, the black orb begins to slowly descend, moving directly toward the rooftop. Snapping out of his terror, he screams at Hongjin and Ishin, telling them they have to run now. But the other two are still locked in their pointless standoff, completely oblivious to the descending threat. This boy with glasses screams a desperate warning that someone here is about to transform. On the rooftop, the other students just stare, confused by his sudden outburst. This girl in the hoodie is stunned, while her friend nervously suggests they should just leave. But the gray-haired bully and his friends just scoff, amused by the ridiculous claim. His dark-haired friend, however, looks absolutely terrified as the warning sinks in. This student with glasses quickly explains the monster on the field is their classmate, Sujin, which sends the dark-haired boy into a full-blown panic, immediately trying to flee. He grabs the blonde girl's arm, telling her they have to run now and he will explain later. Seeing the chaos erupt, the girl in the hoodie and her friend decide to escape as well. But the gray-haired bully suddenly steps in front of her, blocking their only path. A cruel, predatory smile spreads across his face as he asks where they think they're going. She freezes, staring back at him with a mixture of fear and defiance. Suddenly, he lunges forward, grabbing her arm with a powerful grip, leaving his own friends completely stunned by his sudden and aggressive move. Down on the field, another student collapses to the ground, convulsing as the others watch in horror. On the field below, the fallen student's eyes turn black as the horrifying transformation begins. This boy with glasses screams a final warning, telling everyone to run for their lives. At the rooftop exit, another student desperately rattles the locked doorknob, seeking an escape. But a monstrous skeletal hand suddenly appears over the fence right behind him. His blood runs cold as he slowly turns to face the new, immediate threat. Nearby, the gray-haired bully and his friend look back, their eyes eerily dark and vacant. This boy at the door is paralyzed with fear as the creature looms over him, before a massive gray hand slams down, crushing him against the ground with brutal force. Now fully revealed, the grotesque monster stands over its victim as the others watch in horror. Even the unhinged bully is frozen in absolute terror, his bravado completely shattered by the sight. A voice cries out for Ishin, who stands firm amidst the spreading panic. This boy with glasses screams at him, his face a mask of desperate fury, and without a moment's hesitation, Ishin breaks into a sprint toward the chaos. His action finally breaks the spell, sending the other students scrambling for the exit in a panic. One boy stumbles through the doorway, utterly drained and barely able to stand after his escape. Ishin freezes in the doorway, his voice filled with alarm as he calls out a name. But Hongjin frantically gestures for him to hurry up and join the others, just as Ishin spots the massive, newly transformed monster right outside the door. A cold sweat breaks out as he realizes his friend is in immediate danger. Suddenly, Hongjin is violently slammed against the fence by an unseen force, a black tendril erupting from the new monster's chest and striking him down instantly. His friend can only watch in horror as Hongjin collapses to the ground, gasping for air. But a look of pure rage fills his eyes as he grits his teeth, vowing revenge. A horrifying memory surfaces of his mother standing before a similar monstrous creature, this beast pleading with her to run as the ominous black sphere hovered above. Back in the present, the monster attacks again, its tendril lashing out wildly, prompting Ishin to grab the nearest girl, desperately telling her to get back inside. This rooftop erupts into chaos as the gray-haired bully confronts him, blaming him for the attack. And with his eyes glowing white, Ishin prepares to unleash his own fury, only for the student in the hoodie to intercept the monster's strike with a knife. This girl in the hoodie screams for everyone to get back as the transformation completes. Ishin can only stare in disbelief, his hand outstretched in a useless gesture. Before them stands a new monster looming over the terrified girl with the bun. On the ground, the boy with glasses desperately yells for her to run away. But she is paralyzed by fear, realizing this nightmare is all too real. With a furious roar, Ishin charges forward, a taser crackling in his hand. His attack is cut short as he freezes, witnessing something truly horrifying. A shadowy tendril whips out, launching the helpless girl high into the sky, and in a blur of motion, it smashes her back down onto the rooftop floor. Blood splatters across the face of the boy with glasses, his mind completely numb. His other students are showered in the aftermath, their screams lost in the chaos. Even the gray-haired bully watches in stunned silence as the monster claims its victim. Its massive jaw unhinges, preparing to consume what remains of the student. A single, terrified eye reflects the brutal scene, sweat pouring down his face, leaving only a gruesome silhouette against a blood-red sky as another life is extinguished. A student trembles uncontrollably, his hand shaking as he clutches a blackboard eraser. His eyes are fixed on the grotesque monster that has just manifested on the school field. As his sweaty hand loses its grip, the eraser begins to slip from his fingers. But the girl in the hoodie suddenly snatches it, charging forward with fierce determination, leaving the boy with glasses paralyzed with fear on the ground just feet from the creature. This black sphere pulses ominously from within the monster's spiked crown, while the girl sprints directly toward the monster's massive leg, completely undeterred, her hand crackling with a strange blue energy as she prepares to strike with the eraser. She slams the energized object directly into the creature's flesh with all her might, causing the monster to react as the sphere in its head glows with malevolent power. Suddenly, dozens of sharp, black projectiles erupt from its body in every direction, and her face contorts in pure horror as she realizes the devastating power she has unleashed. These deadly spikes rain down from the sky, tearing up the ground all around them, forcing the boy with glasses and another student to scramble for their lives amidst the chaos. Yet the girl remains, her hand reaching out toward the eraser still embedded in the beast. This girl in the hoodie stares in horror as the deadly projectiles rain down around her. At the doorway, two other students scream, witnessing the terrifying attack unfold before them. For a moment, the sky is just a blur of black streaks against the clouds. On the ground, she looks up in a daze, somehow surviving the deadly barrage. Nearby, Ishin catches his breath, the close brush with death leaving him pale and shaken. Rushing to the boy with glasses, the girl in the hoodie checks to see if he is okay. Suddenly, another spike slams into the ground right beside them with a sickening thud, leaving the boy with glasses paralyzed as he realizes the projectile is retracting. This dark-haired student screams for everyone to run while they still have the chance. High above, the black sphere absorbs all the spikes back into itself, ending the assault. As the monster stands idle, the boy with glasses tells the girl to let go of his arm. She holds on tighter, explaining she came back for him because he saved her first. With the attack over, the remaining students make a desperate break for the rooftop exit. But the boy at the door freezes, asking in confusion why someone is coming up from behind. Behind them, the monster contorts as a second, darker form erupts from its back. A frustrated curse escapes Ishin's lips as he realizes the direness of their situation, while the boy with glasses screams for him to hurry, leaving his fallen friend behind. With an anguished growl, Ishin finally breaks into a run toward the rooftop exit. This creature outside lets out a piercing shriek, its attention drawn to their escape attempt. And as a projectile flies past, Ishin grabs the boy with glasses, shoving him forward. His eyes burn with intensity as he tells them to just keep moving, hurling them both toward the relative safety of the doorway with all his strength, sending them crashing to the ground right in front of the locked exit. He immediately reaches for the door, desperate to find a way through. But his heart sinks as he discovers a padlock securing it from the outside. Leaning against the immovable door, he gasps for breath, realizing they are trapped. Finding the other two students who fled earlier are already there, looking on in despair. On the floor, the boy with glasses helps the girl in the hoodie, both shaken by the close call. And when asked where everyone else went, he explains they scattered in the chaos. Ishin turns to the locked door, asking if the others can stand or if he should just break it down. Ishin looks back, a cold sweat breaking out as the terrible reality sinks in. While down the stairs, the boy with glasses screams for everyone to get away from the door. Nearby, he and the blonde girl panic, realizing the door is locked with a monster outside. Trapped on the landing, another student desperately clings to the railing, screaming for help. And facing the exit, Ishin remembers locking it himself, hoping to keep the creature out. A horrifying thought dawns on him, he might have just doomed the others to save himself. But the boy with glasses insists there were no survivors left, urging them to move now. Just as a massive impact slams against the door, shaking the entire stairwell. This girl in the hoodie just watches the chaos, her expression cold and resolute. As the others scramble to escape down the stairs, Ishin hesitates for a moment, while the door continues to buckle under a relentless, monstrous assault from the other side. This boy with glasses grabs the girl, trying to flee as another student vows to break it down. But in an instant, the entire door is ripped from its frame with terrifying force, sending it hurtling down the stairs and forcing the fleeing students to dive for cover. Ishin and his friend can only stare at the gaping hole, wondering what comes next. Two students look up the stairs toward a gaping hole blasted through the wall, Through the opening, they see a horrifying sight. The rooftop is littered with fallen classmates. Among the bodies lies the gray-haired bully, seemingly another victim of the chaos. But his eyes suddenly snap open, peering cautiously over the edge of the roof. He and his friend are hiding on an outside ledge, wondering if the coast is clear. This grotesque monster stands in the doorway, its back turned to them for now. A look of confusion crosses the bully's face as he watches the creature's strange behavior. Suddenly, the monster begins smashing itself against the doorframe with incredible force. These violent impacts startle the two boys who are hiding just below the chaos. Losing his balance from the shock, the bully stumbles backward onto a piece of equipment. That loud clatter immediately draws the monster's attention, its head snapping toward the sound. Barely he manages to catch himself, breathing a sigh of relief at the near-fatal mistake, but his relief instantly vanishes, replaced by a cold, dawning dread. Then a monstrous hand suddenly grips the railing directly above their hiding spot. And the creature with the spiked crown peers down, having found its new prey. This gray-haired bully is frozen in terror, desperately pleading for the monster to just disappear. Downstairs, Ishin and the others look up at the empty doorway, confused by the sudden silence. This remaining students hesitate on the landing, wondering where the creature could have gone. Seeing the heavy door ripped from its frame, the girl in the hoodie points it out. And another student suggests using the sturdy object as a barricade for their escape. But the boy with glasses glares at Ishin, questioning why he abandoned his friend on the roof. Elsewhere, an older man sits in his car, starting the ignition with grim determination. He prays for the courage to complete the difficult task that lies ahead of him. With his prayer finished, he pulls out of the parking lot and heads toward the school. On the field, the other monster suddenly crouches, sensing an approaching presence. It watches intently as the lone vehicle drives along the school's outer fence. This driver continues his prayer, completely unaware of the danger he has just attracted. He speeds through the school's main gate, committed to his unknown purpose. His solemn thoughts are cut short by a sudden, jarring realization. A glance in the rearview mirror reveals the horrifying truth: the monster is chasing him. Elsewhere, an older man with glasses screams in terror, bracing for a sudden impact. His car's tires screech violently across the pavement as he slams on the brakes, and the sudden jolt sends his head crashing hard against the steering wheel. This vehicle now sits smoking, having swerved directly into a roadside tree. And dazed, the driver clutches his head, trying to process what just happened. A cold sweat breaks out as his eyes lock onto the horrifying creature outside. But when he glances at his rearview mirror, the street behind him is completely empty. In a flash, the spike-crowned monster soars directly over his car from above, landing with bone-shattering force that cracks the pavement with its impact. Then one of its long, scythe-like appendages extends high into the air, before the creature suddenly lands directly on the roof of his car with a metallic crunch. Dozens of impacts suddenly pepper the nearby chain-link fence with terrifying speed, revealing other students desperately fleeing from the school building in a panic. One boy in a purple jacket screams at his friends, telling them they have to get away now. But the girl with large glasses seems frozen in place, unable to comprehend the chaos. This creature's feet dig into the ground, bracing itself for what comes next, and it stands over the wreckage, a single-eyed horror surveying its new hunting ground. Hiding behind a wall, a girl with glasses calls out for her fleeing classmate to wait. Her face is pale with sweat as a terrifying possibility crosses her mind. She peeks out to see the crowned monster on the court, seemingly guarding something bizarre. Meanwhile, other survivors have found temporary refuge behind a set of heavy doors. A blonde student cautiously peers out, wondering if the coast is finally clear. Finding the conference room empty, she signals that it seems to be safe for now. Inside, Ishin and the boy with glasses collapse against the wall, utterly exhausted from their escape. At the entrance, the girl in the hoodie realizes there is no way to lock the door behind them. Her friend questions the point, but another insists any barrier is better than nothing. Looking around frantically, the blonde girl suggests they try to barricade it with a broom. This boy with glasses rejects the idea, thinking they should find a different classroom altogether. His eyes widen as the full, horrifying scope of their situation finally sinks in. Staring at his trembling hand, he struggles to comprehend the nightmare they are trapped in. Hiding in the hallway, the girl in the hoodie asks the boy with glasses a pointed question. She demands to know how he predicted a student would transform on the rooftop, and he turns to her, clarifying she is asking about his foresight into the transformation itself. In the quiet hall, he admits he has witnessed a human turn into a monster once before. A memory flashes back of another transformation, just like the one on the rooftop with the black sphere. Ishin interrupts, asking if he means the ominous black orb floating above the creature's head. This boy with glasses confirms, adding that victims turn pale and start mumbling incoherently. Back in the classroom, the other survivors listen in horror, asking if there are clear warning signs. With a grim expression, he admits he does not know the criteria, fearing it might be completely random. Suddenly, Ishin remembers seeing someone mumbling and trembling just before the attack. A flashback reveals the gray-haired bully on the ground, complaining of being cold and miserable. This girl in the hoodie stands, piecing together the symptoms: a black sphere, coldness, and anxiety. At her desk, the blonde girl wonders how many other students in the school are ticking time bombs. While Ishin clenches his hands, realizing the worst outcome is one of them turning into a monster, and the boy with glasses confirms that is the exact horrifying thought on his mind. This girl in the hoodie proposes a grim pact: be honest if the symptoms appear. Stunned, the blonde girl asks what happens if someone admits to feeling the change. Ishin struggles to his feet, agreeing it is their only chance for survival. But the girl in the hoodie suggests a more definitive solution than just fleeing. Her eyes gleam with a chilling idea they must act before a transformation is complete. This boy with glasses interrupts, bringing up the practical problem of needing the restroom. A freckled student and the blonde girl look panicked, realizing they'd have to leave. And the blonde girl voices their fear, questioning if it is truly safe to venture out. Ishin points out the restroom is just outside, telling them to go quickly. Overcome with a mix of terror and relief, the freckled student laughs nervously. Leaning on the door, Ishin dismisses their fears, saying it is just a short trip. This girl in the hoodie gives him a sharp, questioning look for his carelessness, but he insists they cannot just keep everyone trapped inside without basic necessities. His hand closes around the handle, ready to open the door for them. On the other side, the empty hallway waits in an ominous silence. A faint creak echoes from the classroom door as it slowly swings open. Peeking through the narrow gap, Ishin cautiously surveys the hallway outside, his heart pounding as his eyes lock onto an absolutely horrifying sight. A massive, grotesque creature lies motionless on the floor just around the corner. Behind him, another student nervously asks if Ishin will escort them to the restroom. But Ishin whips around, silencing them with a harsh gesture and a desperate warning. His sudden intensity leaves the other two students frozen in confused terror, while the boy with glasses realizes with dawning horror it is the rooftop monster. This girl in the hoodie asks about a strange noise she just heard, her voice trembling, and Ishin presses his ear to the door, listening to a faint scraping from the hall. Suddenly, the creature's body erupts in a violent, fleshy explosion of spikes. This blonde girl panics, questioning why he is pushing the door instead of closing it. Ignoring her plea as he continues to force the door open despite the obvious danger, his classmates watching in stunned disbelief as one asks if that was a person. As Ishin just stares into the hall, confirming another monster is right there. A student peeks outside, gasping that he thinks he just saw another person in the hall, and Ishin grabs him, demanding to know if he is sure of what he saw. Through the narrow window, the girl in the hoodie looks out, her eye wide with terror. She sees a fallen classmate impaled by grotesque black tendrils near the elevator. This others look on in horror, recognizing the victim and questioning if it is really him. While the girl in the hoodie confirms it is a person but cannot tell if he is alive, she notes that he looks infected, pointing out the strange growths covering his body. This sends the other two into a panic, fearing contagion and desperately calling for masks. But the boy with glasses quietly wonders if there is still a chance the student is alive, leaving the others to stare at him, unsure how to react to his hopeful question. Ishin realizes with dread that the boy might be suggesting a dangerous rescue attempt, but the boy with glasses suddenly brings up a movie where a character survived a bite. He theorizes the victim might have antibodies, a rare trait that could grant immunity. Even the girl in the hoodie thinks his movie-based logic is completely insane, but then she realizes if he survived, he might know how to reverse the transformation. This blonde girl wonders aloud if there is a way to turn the monsters back into humans. Ishin realizes with dread that failing to save someone now could lead to immense regret. Agreeing completely, the boy with glasses asks what their next move should be. This girl in the hoodie insists they must decide now as their classmates' chances are fading. With a grim look, her friend acknowledges the truth in her urgent words. Their group now stands before the doors to the multi-purpose room, their next destination. Two students cautiously peek inside, one begging the other not to jinx their situation. A wave of pure terror washes over the blonde girl's face as she stares into the room. Stepping inside, the survivors scan the large, empty space, hoping it is safe for now. From the back, Ishin issues a harsh warning: anyone who tries to flee on their own is dead. This boy with glasses tells the girl in the hoodie to stay close, worried she might transform. He then asks if she is okay after the rooftop incident, concerned she will not be able to run. His friend says he is fine, but his attention is suddenly drawn to something horrifying. On the floor lies a fallen student, impaled by bony spikes and clearly no longer alive. Unaware of the body, Ishin tells the girl to check on him, but she is frozen in fear. Ishin's eyes narrow with frustration, silently cursing his classmates' frozen terror, and he reaches out toward the impaled student, ignoring the grotesque growths. This others watch in horror, the boy with glasses whispering a desperate warning to be careful. Looking back, Ishin tells the girl in the hoodie to get her taser ready just in case, but the boy with glasses panics, claiming he lost the weapon back on the workshop rooftop. He quickly corrects himself, however, remembering that he actually picked it up after all, and the girl admits the illegally modified device was incredibly expensive. This boy hands over the cracked taser, telling her to just throw it away. It is broken, he explains, and would only electrocute whoever tried to use it now. Ishin immediately asks for the dangerous device, taking it from his confused classmate, then kneels by the body, dropping the taser to focus on the fallen student. While the others hang back, he cautiously reaches out to touch the corpse, explaining he is just checking for any reaction, a desperate last-ditch effort. This girl in the hoodie steps forward, insisting she will be the one to check for a pulse. Taking a deep breath, she kneels beside the body, her hand reaching for the student's neck. Ishin warns the girl in the hoodie to be careful as she stares down in shock. Her trembling hand reaches out as she recognizes the fallen student, Choi Tae-won. A cold sweat breaks as she confirms his identity from his familiar tracksuit. In a flashback, he is seen smiling brightly with his friends, so full of life. Back in the present, she desperately prays that he might have somehow survived, but his blackened eyes and silent scream reveal the horrifying truth of his transformation. This girl in the hoodie snaps, screaming in absolute rage at the impossible situation. Suddenly, the boy with glasses grabs her by the hood, yanking her back forcefully. He shoves her away from the corpse, sending her stumbling backward in shock. Meanwhile, Ishin panics as his own hand begins to gruesomely transform into a monstrous claw. Collapsing to the floor, he screams that they need to kill 4 more to survive. Completely stunned, the girl in the hoodie cannot comprehend what he is even saying. This boy with glasses ignores her, shouting at the body, asking if Choi Taewon can hear him. From the doorway, the other students yell for them to forget it and get back inside. His freckled friend stares in horror, confirming that was definitely their classmate on the floor. This boy with glasses screams at the impaled student, desperately trying to get a response. A faint twitch runs through the victim's legs, a whisper revealing he does not want to die. His body continues to convulse weakly, still caught in the grotesque tendrils. Utterly horrified by the sight, Ishin can only stammer in disbelief. While the girl in the hoodie recognizes the victim, whispering his name in utter shock. Grotesque tendrils are wrapped tightly around the student's torso, pinning him down. Revealing his face is a horrifying mask with tendrils bursting from his mouth. Repeating his name in a horrified whisper, she struggles to accept what she is seeing. His body gives another violent shudder, the grotesque transformation still progressing. Ishin stands, grimly concluding that despite the movement, their classmate is already gone. Turning to the girl in the hoodie, the boy with glasses asks if she knew the victim. She clarifies that she did not know him personally, but she knows who he is. This freckled student suddenly recognizes him, connecting the victim to another classmate. Sweat beads on his face as the horrifying implication of that connection sinks in. Kneeling beside the body, the freckled student mourns his friend, confirming their tragic link. Ishin desperately restrains a screaming student, yelling at him to get a grip. He grits his teeth, warning that it is still far too dangerous to make any sudden moves, as a horrifying vision of their fallen classmate serves as a grim reminder of the danger outside. This boy with glasses rushes to help, both of them struggling to hold their terrified friend back. But his attention snaps to the girl in the hoodie who is walking away from the group. She recalls their classmate's final words, a desperate plea that he did not want to die. Standing over the spiked body, she concludes he is gone, wondering how he predicted his own death. Her friend follows, insisting that whatever she is planning is a pointless and deadly risk, placing a hand on her shoulder while arguing they must learn about the monsters to survive. Meanwhile, Ishin holds his weeping classmate, vowing he will not be caught helpless again. But the girl in the hoodie turns back, telling the boy if he will not help, then stay out of her way. Her cold logic gives him pause, forcing him to reconsider their entire strategy. Ishin looks over at his friend, who has now fallen into a state of silent, traumatized shock, when the boy with glasses makes a choice, grabbing her arm and declaring he is going too. From a nearby doorway, the blonde girl watches in disbelief, wondering why they are heading back into danger. This girl in the hoodie crouches by the body, hoping they can find an Achilles heel. But the boy with glasses argues they need to find a real weakness, not a mythological one. He stares intently, his mind racing to understand how anyone could revert from such a state, remembering the victim showed no signs of hesitation or any unique traits before turning. His wild theories about blood type are met with doubt from the girl, who knows it is not that simple. While Ishin sits apart with his traumatized friend, muttering that the others are insane. A sudden noise from the nearby bathroom stalls cuts through the tense silence. This freckled student peeks out, his eyes hollow with grief as he calls his friend's name. He then retreats back into the stall, unable to face the horrific scene any longer. This boy with glasses concludes their classmate had no special qualities to explain a cure, prompting Ishin to wonder if maybe the monster itself made some kind of mistake. He suggests the creatures might be just as ignorant about humans as they are about them. Then the girl in the hoodie adds a new clue. It looked like the victim was talking to someone before he died. Ishin looks down at the body, pondering this, when he suddenly realizes something is missing from the scene. Just then, the blonde girl appears in the doorway, startling the boy with glasses with her sudden arrival. This blonde girl screams at them, furiously accusing them of having a death wish, but the boy with glasses calmly retorts that this is what they must do to survive, while her freckled friend wonders if what happened was a side effect of monsterization. Crying, he begs the others to help him bury his friend, unable to leave him behind. Ishin immediately shuts down the idea, horrified by the thought of going outside now. This freckled student warns that if they try, they will all just end up dead like their friend, yet the girl in the hoodie insists they cannot just abandon the body like this. She suggests they at least hold a moment of silence to honor their fallen classmate, and someone proposes using the classroom curtains to at least cover the body. Ishin and the boy with glasses agree it is a crude solution, but it is their only option. They find themselves outside classroom 15, the source for their makeshift shroud, and inside they confirm the curtains will be sufficient for their grim task. This boy with glasses wonders how to get them down, and Ishin tells him to just yank it. He seems surprised by the blunt suggestion, looking over at Ishin for confirmation. But Ishin just stares back, then notices the blonde girl watching from the doorway. This blonde girl frantically explains their only option is to unhook the window latch. As the boy with glasses climbs up to try, Ishin warns him to be extremely careful, but he freezes instantly, his face twisting in sudden, abject terror. Outside on the field below sits a grotesque monster, staring blankly into the distance, and he realizes with a cold sweat that the creature is still right there. Turning back, he warns that opening the window will definitely attract its attention. When Ishin suddenly lunges forward, yanking hard on the classroom curtain, this fabric rips violently from its hooks, tearing completely free from the rail, startling the other girls who have no idea what he is planning. Her eyes widen in sheer, uncomprehending shock at his reckless actions, revealing he has thrown the heavy curtain over a pile of desks to create a hiding spot. Underneath, the boy with glasses clutches his chest, groaning in agonizing pain, until a hand suddenly clamps over his mouth, silencing his pained cries. It is Ishin, now hiding with him and demanding absolute life-or-death silence. Nearby, the girl in the hoodie has collapsed, her friend trying to pull her away. This blonde girl questions her friend's actions, but the dark-haired girl shushes her with a tense whisper. Her eyes wide with fear, she explains that she saw something just outside the window. Elsewhere, a grim-faced student with an earring looks down, getting his friend's attention. Hiding on a high ledge, one of the boys asks how long they have been waiting out the chaos. Seeing a distant explosion, he hopes the monster has finally moved on to another area. But his friend counters that they never heard it leave, suggesting it might still be close. Realizing they will starve if they stay, he orders his friend to go take a look outside. This terrified student stammers in disbelief, but his friend insists it is his turn to check. As they argue about waiting longer, a hulking monster lurks just out of sight behind them. In what seems to be a flashback, a student frantically pulls a curtain across a window, and through the gap, Ishin sees something that freezes him in place. His face draining of all color, his eyes wide with pure, unadulterated horror, because a grotesque, towering monster is staring right back at them from the other side. This student who revealed it can only stare, stammering in absolute terror at the sight, leaving only the fallen curtain on the floor covering the aftermath of the encounter. Under the curtain, Ishin frantically weighs their options, stay hidden or make a desperate run for it. This boy with glasses stares back, completely baffled by his friend's sudden, reckless behavior. An eerie silence hangs over the empty classroom, the open doorway a tempting but dangerous escape. Nearby, the blonde girl and her friend peek from behind a door, paralyzed by what they see. Their terror is justified as the hulking legs of a monster stomp past the window. Watching it go, the dark-haired girl whispers, wondering if the creature is actually leaving. Her blonde friend nearly screams in terror, barely managing to stifle the sound. As the freckled student rushes over, desperately trying to keep her quiet, she freezes, her eyes wide with the horrifying memory of what just passed by. Just then, a hand appears, dangling ominously just outside the window frame. It hangs there for a terrifying moment, a silent and unexplained presence, before slowly retracting and disappearing completely from their sight. This freckled student realizes with dawning horror that he did not hear a single sound, prompting his blonde classmate to point out a crucial detail: the monsters have no visible eyes or ears. This new information clicks for the girl in the hoodie, who considers if the creatures are actually deaf. A spiky, monstrous head appears just above the classroom window frame. From the doorway, the other students look on in stunned silence, until a grotesque hand presses against the glass, cracking it with a horrifying screech. This girl in the hoodie freezes, her face shadowed by the terrifying sound. As the creature smashes through the window, its body contorting as it invades the room. Panicked, the blonde girl screams at a fleeing student to come back and help them, while another girl looks back, horrified for the two boys still hiding in the classroom. Inside, the monster twists its mangled limbs, now fully within the room. Under the curtain, Ishin grits his teeth, wondering if they should risk making a run for it, while a different student hiding nearby weighs the deadly odds of staying put versus fleeing. This blonde girl watches in terror, realizing her friends are about to abandon her. But the girl in the hoodie clenches her jaw, making a sudden, risky decision. She stands in the doorway, telling the others to stay back if they want to live, vowing to draw the monster's attention and lead it away from the group. With that, she and the blonde girl sprint down the hallway, beginning their desperate escape. Ishin realizes the monster is trapped in the window, wondering how to lure it away. Out in the hallway, another sudden noise startles the blonde girl and her friend. This girl in the hoodie knows it is a dangerous gamble, but this might be their only chance. Then a nearby classroom door slams shut with a deafening, echoing crash. Both girls freeze in utter shock, completely baffled by the unexpected sound. This blonde girl nervously asks if that noise really came from inside the classroom. Staring at the door in tense silence, they remain unsure of what to do next. Cautiously, the girl in the hoodie approaches, pressing her hand against the door to listen. Her eyes widen in horror as the scene flashes back 5 minutes earlier. Elsewhere, two other students argue while hiding, one demanding the other go scout outside. His friend insists the monster must be gone by now, urging him to just go look. Just then, a voice from below calls out, asking if anyone is up there. Peeking through the bars, the student with the earring laughs, thinking they are finally safe. But below them stands a hulking, headless creature, the source of the calm voice. His face contorts in pure terror as the horrifying reality finally sinks in. This terrified student is forced onto the unstable air conditioning unit. His friend shoves him from behind, ignoring his panicked protests, sending him stumbling forward with a look of pure terror on his face. This unit rips from the wall, sending the boy plummeting over the edge. Looking down, the student with the earring screams his friend's name in horror, his face draining of color as he processes what he has just done. He collapses against the wall, cursing in disbelief at the sudden disaster, when a voice from below suddenly asks him what is going on. And through the bars, he sees someone looking up from another floor. Utterly panicked, he screams at them to get away and save him from this nightmare, then calls out another name, desperately searching for any sign of his friend. On a lower ledge, a student with glasses looks up, confused by the commotion, just as the dangling boy screams for help, clinging to the broken AC unit. His friend above can only watch, begging someone to pull him back up. With all his might, the falling student tries to climb the pipe, screaming for his friend to do something. With a sickening crack, the pipe he is clinging to begins to splinter apart, and from the ledge above, his friend screams his name in a panic, yelling that it is breaking. Dangling precariously, he screams back at his friend to just pull, but their efforts are futile. A cold sweat breaks out on his face as he realizes this might actually be the end. Gritting his teeth, he tightens his grip, refusing to die in such a pathetic way. A desperate surge of adrenaline fueling his will to survive this terrifying fall. In a final desperate gambit, he swings his body and kicks an AC unit below him, and the sudden impact causes the pipe to finally snap completely apart, sending the heavy metal box plummeting towards the headless monster waiting below. Hurtling through the air, the heavy machine plummets towards the ground, aimed squarely at the creature that had lured them into this deadly trap. Taking the full force of the impact, the multi-limbed creature is sent tumbling down, before everything smashes into the ground with a deafening, dust-billowing crash. Inside a nearby classroom, the sudden commotion startles two students looking out the window. While back in the hallway, the girl in the hoodie realizes this was the sound she heard. This girl in the hoodie freezes, her eyes wide with disbelief at the sudden silence. Peeking into the classroom, she realizes the monster that broke in is completely gone. An eerie stillness hangs over the curtain where the two boys are still hiding. Underneath, Ishin whispers urgently for his friend to get up and move now. Meanwhile, the blonde girl nervously asks if the creature has truly left for good. These two boys finally emerge, the one with glasses gasping that he thought they were dead. He then asks Ishin if he caused the loud noise, but Ishin just tells him to hurry. With a sense of urgency, our boy shoves his friend toward the door, yelling at him to go. But the boy with glasses stubbornly insists on grabbing the curtain they used for cover. Their escape leads them to the door of the school's multi-purpose room. Exhausted, the boys collapse outside while the blonde girl suggests they find a better spot. Inside, the hoodie girl argues that this is the best shelter they are going to find, explaining the room is better insulated, meaning the monsters cannot see or hear them. Ishin wonders aloud if the sound they heard was the military coming to rescue them, but the girl in the hoodie reasons that if it were soldiers, the noise would not have stopped. A dark-haired student clutches his head, wondering if the monsters are fighting each other outside. While the boy with glasses slumps to the floor, relieved they survived and asking if anyone's hurt, his relief quickly turns to confusion as he takes in their new surroundings. In the spacious room, the blonde girl suddenly asks where the tall kid Ishin has gone. This other boy scoffs, questioning if Ishin is hiding under a desk after all that chaos. Turning to her friend, the blonde girl insists Ishin was right there with them just a moment ago. And the girl in the hoodie looks around with wide, worried eyes, asking where he could be. Suddenly, the sound of frantic footsteps echoes from down the empty school hallway. It is the freckled student, sprinting for his life and screaming about another monster. His foot catches on the edge of a step, sending him stumbling forward, and he crashes hard onto the tiled floor, completely losing his balance. Pushing himself up, he tries to brush it off, insisting he is okay despite the fall. But a quick look around reveals his friends are nowhere in sight. His face contorts in dawning horror as he considers they might have been caught. Overwhelmed by terror and grief, he can only curse at his own powerlessness. A lone student stumbles through the halls, apologizing to his dead friends for surviving, finding himself on the fourth floor and desperately searching for a safe place to hide. He considers an empty classroom but hesitates, terrified a monster will find him alone. Then decides he must find other survivors instead of waiting to die by himself. As he approaches the supplies room, the door creaks open just enough to peek through, and a monstrous hand suddenly reaches out, freezing him with the horrifying realization he is not alone. Elsewhere, the student with the earring stares at his own hand, wondering if he is the last one left. Taking a deep breath, he makes a desperate running leap across the gap between buildings. Barely catching the far ledge, his fingers straining to maintain their precarious grip. Another student already on the roof yells down, impatiently demanding he hurry and help him, grabbing him by the collar in frustration and telling him to just get up already. For a terrifying moment, his hand slips from the concrete, threatening to send him plummeting. But he pulls himself over the edge, collapsing onto the rooftop in utter exhaustion. He gasps that he thought he was going to die, but his new companion just tells him to shut up. Leaning back, the student with the earring smiles in relief, his heart still pounding from the ordeal. This student with the earring remembers something horrifying, his face draining of all color, and his companion panics, frantically asking what they are supposed to do now. Just then, a monstrous hand grips the railing as a familiar headless creature pulls itself up. But a girl with glasses appears beside it, calmly asking if they need any help. Both boys are left utterly speechless, completely baffled by this impossible situation. Staring in disbelief, the student with the earring asks if she is some kind of monster tamer, and she explains it is a long story but assures them the creature with her is safe. Her words offer little comfort to the buzzcut student, who cannot believe a monster could be harmless. As the sun continues to set over their precarious rooftop sanctuary, elsewhere in a small, secure room, 3 other students lie unconscious on the floor, while the girl introduces herself as Yoonjae, the hulking creature standing silently behind her. Ignoring her introduction, the student with the earring demands to know if she killed the monster below, but she nervously admits she did not, guessing that it is probably dead anyway. Her uncertainty sends the other boy into a rage, screaming that she cannot even be sure. Yoonjae calmly explains she was shocked to find bodies and monsters when she first arrived. This girl with glasses recounts her hesitation, explaining that something about the situation felt terribly wrong. Peeking through a doorway, she and 2 other students recoil in absolute horror at the sight. Below them on a rooftop, a hulking, headless monster sits among several fallen students. She panics, wondering where they can possibly go with monsters now on the roof too. But a sudden realization dawns on her as she remembers seeing a monster like this before. Yet this creature just sits there, completely unresponsive, making her question if it is even active. Her confusion grows as she tries to process the bizarre, passive scene before her. and looking closer, she notices something is fundamentally different about this particular monster. Unlike others, it is missing the black spherical core that usually floats above its head. She theorizes this core acts as their brain, located right where a head should be. But the student with the earring suddenly slaps her hard across the face, silencing her. He angrily dismisses her explanation, telling her he does not understand her rambling nonsense. This brutal strike sends her reeling, her glasses knocked askew from the unexpected violence. With a furious glare, he repeats that her complicated theories are completely useless to them now, while the other student stares in disbelief, demanding to know why he suddenly attacked her. On the rooftop, the student with the earring angrily yells at his companion for taking so long to arrive, but the buzzcut student just stammers in confusion, unsure how to respond to the outburst. His confusion quickly turning to rage as he points back, accusing the other boy of being insane. This scene flashes back, showing him demanding an apology from a girl on the ground for nearly causing his fall. He raises his hand as if to strike her again, forcing a terrified apology from the girl. And back in the present, he turns his attention to a nearby creature, asking what its deal is. This girl explains a crucial rule: if the monster lacks a black orb above its head, it is already dead. Prompting the student with the earring to tell his friend, Park Sangjun, to just explain things next time. Another memory flashes by him, wounded on the ground beside a fallen classmate, desperate to be anywhere else. Back on the rooftop, Park Sangjun glances over with a nervous expression, trying to get his friend's attention, turning to the girl who is patting the ground for her lost glasses and asking if she can find them. Crouching down to help her search, he questions how bad her vision could possibly be. And just as he finds the glasses, their hands touch for a brief, startling moment. This simple contact sends him into a flustered panic, his face flushing bright red. Completely frozen, he can only stare ahead, stunned by the brief, unexpected contact. A girl with glasses makes a tearful confession, apologizing for what is about to happen. Her friend with the buzzcut worries that she will be in danger now that she is alone. He stammers that it is their fault but insists he does not want her to sacrifice herself. From the stairs, the student with the earring yells that this is a matter of duty, not choice. This girl raises her hands, offering herself to the hulking monster behind them. Annoyed by the drama, the student with the earring scoffs at her noble gesture. But the buzzcut boy argues her knowledge of the monsters is too valuable to lose. Hearing this, the student with the earring pauses, a new plan forming in his mind. This girl remains on her knees, considering her friend's desperate plea. With a sinister grin, the student with the earring agrees, telling her to come along. This buzzcut boy asks for her name, trying to build a fragile truce, and she agrees to join them, still shaken from their earlier violent encounter. Night falls over the school, blanketing the grounds in an ominous darkness. Back in the multi-purpose room, Ishin moves to turn off the lights for the night, but the blonde girl begs him to leave them on, only for him to coldly tell her to be quiet. Ignoring her desperate pleas, Ishin flicks the light switch, plunging the entire room into darkness. This student settled down in the windowless room, trying to find some comfort on the floor. She angrily tells the boy on the floor to stay away, still terrified by his presence. Annoyed by their bickering, Ishin sits up and coldly tells the other student to shut up. Lying back with his hands behind his head, Ishin wishes this whole nightmare was just a dream. Nearby, the blonde girl laments sleeping on the hard floor after being in a soft bed yesterday. This boy with glasses' thoughts drift to his mother, desperately hoping monsters have not reached his home. A desperate hope flickers within him, reasoning she must be safe if she stayed indoors. But as he lies there, a chilling thought haunts him, wondering if he can survive another day. His mind flashes to the horrifying creatures, knowing their numbers only grow with each passing day, and survival today only means facing a harder tomorrow and an even more impossible week later. In his dark imagination, a towering monster stands over him, a vision of their inevitable end. His eyes snap open in terror as a voice suddenly calls out his name, Jingyu. Turning his head, he sees Ishin lying nearby, asking what is on his mind, telling him to clear his head of useless thoughts because they need to rest to survive tomorrow. This spiky-haired boy stares up from the floor in disbelief, asking if Ishin seriously thought the military would just show up tomorrow. But Ishin just laughs, smugly telling his friend he knows him too well. Then reassures the others that the tall kid is probably just hiding somewhere safe. And the girl in the hoodie quietly introduces herself as Jisuk, prompting the whole group to finally exchange names instead of formal titles. Jisuk pulls back her hood with wide eyes, mentioning the tall kid's impressive height, which leads the spiky-haired boy to introduce himself as Hong Jinjayu, also stating his height. Ishin grins, one-upping him by proudly announcing his own name and greater height. This blonde girl Yuji tells everyone to relax and speak informally, so Jinjayu asks Ishin for the time, knowing he has a phone, but Ishin explains he turned it off to save the battery, guessing it is around 10 o'clock. Yuji suddenly brings up their hunger, realizing they all missed dinner. Their conversation immediately shifts to all the food they are desperately craving, and Ishin playfully corners Jinjayu, warning him the hard floor will be hell to sleep on. Ishin lies back, complaining about being treated like a patient after his nightmare. Outside their room, a single drop of blood marks the door. Suddenly, a strange noise from outside startles one of the students. This boy with glasses asks Ishin if he heard it too, but Ishin seems to have just noticed, admitting he has been trying his best to ignore the unsettling sound for a while now. Now completely unnerved, the other boy realizes he will not be getting any sleep tonight. His eyes darting around the dark room in growing confusion and fear. He glances over to see the two girls are somehow sleeping soundly through the disturbance, leaving him and Ishin to sit in tense silence, both equally disturbed by the situation. As the night deepens outside, the scene shifts away from the school entirely, transitioning to a quiet, peaceful evening sky from a time before the chaos. In a quiet home, water runs in a sink as someone washes dishes, revealing the boy with glasses in a flashback, relaxing on his couch watching television. From the couch, he calls out to his mother in the kitchen, asking her to come join him, smiling as he insists she will enjoy the show because her favorite actor is on. A memory surfaces of a casual conversation about a TV show, and the boy with glasses replies, agreeing to do the dishes later. But the person he is speaking to is a horrifying monster washing a plate. A sudden jolt of terror snaps him awake, his eyes wide with fear, and he gasps for air, drenched in a cold sweat from the nightmare. He then discovers he is lying face to face with the sleeping blonde girl, his face flushing red as he wonders if he rolled over in his sleep. Realizing this is the closest he has ever been to a girl besides his mom. This unexpected contact sends his heart racing, their hands intertwined. Then, still asleep, she brings his finger to her lips and he completely freezes. Panicked that someone will see, he knows he has to get back to his spot. But as he tries to pull away, he finds himself completely unable to move, overwhelmed by a bizarrely pleasant sensation that feels like he is melting away. Morning light finally breaks over the silent, besieged school. Inside the multi-purpose room, a hand flicks on the light switch, ending the darkness. Jisuk groggily rubs her eyes as she announces it is time for everyone to wake up. While on the floor, Ishin stretches his aching body, complaining about the terrible night's sleep. He then spots Jingyu and Yuji still asleep together, clearly annoyed by the sight. But Jingyu looks absolutely wrecked, admitting he barely slept from the stress of it all. With a serious expression, Jisuk declares she is hungry and proposes they go to the store. Yuji immediately lights up at the idea, but Ishin scoffs at how easily she says it, reminding them of the extreme danger outside and questioning if they can even survive the trip. Jisuk argues back that other survivors are hungry too, meaning the food will be gone soon. She stands her ground, insisting she will go with them and forcing them to make a decision, prompting Ishin to mockingly comment on her hunger, only for Yuji to correct him with her name. Jingyu, flustered by the sudden informality, admits that her logic is sound despite the risks. Yuji weighs their options, deciding that starving to death would be a far worse fate. Finally, a weary Ishin agrees, realizing they have to do something if they want to survive. A determined look crosses Jisuk's face as she remembers the stun gun in their possession. Jingyu immediately takes charge of planning, insisting they must find the absolute safest route. Jisuk explains that the shortest route is usually the safest one, but she adds there is one crucial task they must complete first. Her plan begins with a stop at the women's restroom, where a horrifying blanket-like creature lies waiting just inside the door. Another monster peeks from a locker as she explains they need bags to carry supplies, and the group moves cautiously through the hallways, searching for what they need. Jingyu peers into a wrecked classroom, suggesting they try the next one over, where they find a backpack and begin passing it down the line. As Jinjayu takes it, however, his hand is suddenly grabbed. Yuji snatches the bag, asking if it is pretty, leaving Jingyu completely bewildered. He stammers, completely caught off guard by her strange question in this dire situation, before Jisuk lays out the plan, showing the store is on the first floor of the adjacent building. She explains they can use the sky bridges on the second or third floors or go outside. But going outside is immediately ruled out as too dangerous, and the third floor is unnecessary. So she declares they will cross using the bridge on their current floor, the second. Peeking into a classroom, Hong Jinjayu finds a lone girl huddled in the corner, clearly distressed. When the others catch up, he quietly tells them someone is in the room, halting their progress. This girl is completely panicked, clutching her head and muttering apologies for something she believes is her fault. Jinjayu observes her, guessing she is in shock after losing a friend to the monsters. Jingyu checks for signs of infection, confirming there is no black sphere forming above her head. Yuji looks on with concern, asking the others if they are really just going to abandon her here. But Jisuk turns away, deciding they need to raid the store for food instead of getting involved. This group agrees to move on, leaving the distraught girl behind in the empty classroom. Jingyu glances back one last time before reluctantly agreeing to follow them to the store. Suddenly, the girl's terror twists into a wide, manic grin as she looks up from the floor. She scrambles toward Jingyu, startling him by asking if they are heading to the school store. He recoils in shock as she gets right in his face, her expression disturbingly intense. Grabbing his jacket, she desperately begs him to save her friend Jinho, who she left behind. Jingyu stares, completely stunned by her sudden and desperate plea for help. She clings to him, revealing that her friend is trapped at the store with a monster. A frantic girl with a crazed expression insists the school store is completely empty, urging Jingyu to leave immediately and just continue on his way. He hesitates, staring down the long, eerily silent hallway with suspicion, his confusion turning to fury as he realizes she is trying to use him as bait. A chilling dread washes over him as he understands her true, horrifying plan. Suddenly, the girl tackles him from behind, slamming him hard onto the floor, screaming that more people must go to the store so someone named Jinho can survive. Pinned down, Jingyu stares up in disbelief, accusing her of being completely insane. But she just snarls that she will save Jinho no matter how many others have to die. His anger flares as he realizes she has truly lost her mind and intends to sacrifice him. Elsewhere, another group confirms the connecting bridge to the next building is clear, and Ishin wishes the monsters would just disappear, but Yuji seems doubtful. He then turns around, noticing for the first time that Hong Jinjayu is missing. Yuji asks if they should go back, but Ishin coldly states he will catch up on his own, while Jisuk points ahead, announcing they have almost reached their destination. Yuji insists they should wait for the others, arguing it is safer to stick together. but Jisuk dismisses her, announcing she will scout the area ahead on her own. A sudden realization stops her cold, her eyes wide with alarm as she tells Yuji to wait, and without another word she breaks into a full sprint down the empty school corridor. As she runs, she shouts that someone has collapsed at the far end of the hallway. Down the corridor, a hand lies motionless at the bottom of a short flight of stairs, her mind flashing to a crying classmate, terrified that it might be him. Pushing herself faster, she desperately hopes that whoever it is not already dead. This figure on the stairs, however, is a monster with grotesquely elongated, vine-like arms. Meanwhile, Jingyu is still pinned to the floor, calling his attacker completely insane. But with a crazed snarl, she screams that she will save Jinho no matter the cost. Jingyu's shock finally boils over into pure, unadulterated rage at her madness. In a burst of fury, he unleashes a powerful kick, sending her flying backwards, staggering to his feet as she hits the ground, screaming about her face. He glares down at her, warning that if his friends are harmed, she is dead. This crazed girl screams that she cannot live without Jinho, completely lost to her desperation, while Jingyu sprints away, yelling for his friends not to leave him behind. Elsewhere, Jisuk runs down the empty corridor, focused on something just ahead. She spots a hand sticking out from behind a corner, fearing the worst, calling out the name Beek Chanil as she rushes toward the fallen student. Suddenly, Ishin catches up and yanks her back by her backpack, stopping her cold, furiously reminding her how dangerous it is to approach strangers after what happened before. He wants to retreat to safety, but Yuji insists they have to find Jinjayu first, which makes Ishin pause, nervously questioning the name Jisuk called out. Jisuk confirms she was talking about the person lying on the ground, her eyes wide with worry. But Ishin scoffs, guessing that coward is just hiding somewhere safe instead. This camera lingers on the unmoving body just around the corner. Defeated, Ishin finally concedes it might be him after all, turning away in frustration. So Yuji pulls out the stun gun, suggesting they could try using it again. Ishin dismisses their previous success as a fluke, but she insists they have to try something. Jisuk recalls the discolored skin of the infected, noticing this person's hand looks normal, unlike the other victims who were covered in strange, dark growths. Suddenly, the hand of the person lying on the floor twitches almost imperceptibly, and her eyes widen in absolute shock at the impossible sight. She quickly turns to the others, trying to get their attention, frantically shouting that the person is still alive because they just moved. This revelation hits Ishin hard, realizing they cannot just leave someone behind. But as Jisuk starts to approach, he suddenly grabs her shoulder to stop her. He pushes past, ordering her to stay back while he investigates the situation himself. Jisuk stares after him, completely stunned by his reckless decision. While Yuji calls out his name, questioning if he is really going alone, Ishin cautiously makes his way down the empty hallway toward the body. His face beaded with sweat as he tries to convince himself it is just a person. He finally peeks around the corner, getting a clear view of the fallen student. As the sound of footsteps suddenly echoes through the otherwise silent corridor, this frantic girl turns in surprise as Jinjayu calls out, having found something on the hallway floor, and he screams for everyone to stop, telling them to hold off on their trip to the store. Annoyed by the shouting, Ishin glances back, demanding to know what is going on. But the girl simply takes a deliberate step forward, her intentions suddenly chilling. In her palm rests a small black sphere, the unmistakable mark of the infection. Jingyu's eyes widen in terror as he sees the sphere as part of a monstrous growth. Horrifying tendrils suddenly erupt from the girl's back, revealing her true nature. He can only stare, sweat pouring down his face in utter disbelief and horror. While Ishin snaps out of his shock, screaming for everyone to run for their lives. But the tendrils are too fast, ensnaring Jisuk as she cries out in fear. Yuji is captured next, her own desperate screams echoing through the hallway. Jinjayu whirls around, his face a mask of fury at the sudden, horrifying betrayal, as even Ishin is overwhelmed, struggling uselessly while the creature pulls him in. Seeing the others captured, Jingyu desperately yells at Jinjayu to just run. While on the floor, both Yuji and Jisuk are completely bound by the monster's tendrils. Jinjayu stands frozen in the hallway, knowing he has to help his captured friends. But before him, the monstrous tendrils writhe on the floor, a clear path to certain death. His heart pounds as he realizes rushing in now would be a suicide mission. Swallowing his fear, he tries to convince himself that there is nothing he can do. And just as he clenches his fist in resolve, a voice calls out his name. Ishin glares back from the monster's grasp, telling Jinjayu not to resent him for this. These words leave our boy completely stunned, his mind reeling in disbelief, as Ishin is violently dragged away down the corridor, unable to break free. Yuji and the others are pulled along with him, their desperate screams echoing through the school, leaving Jinjayu to watch the horrifying scene unfold, paralyzed by terror. A single hand lets go of its burden in a final act of surrender. Her red backpack clatters onto the tiled floor, abandoned in the chaos. And then the hallway falls silent, now completely empty save for the bag. Standing alone, he weakly tries to justify his inaction, claiming he was about to help. But his haunted expression reveals the truth, a boy utterly broken by his own cowardice. Jingyu prepares to leave, but the sound of frantic footsteps stops him cold. This crazed girl appears, startling another student by demanding to know where Jinho is. In a dark, isolated room, the real Jinho looks back over his shoulder in fear. Meanwhile, Jingyu glares out a window, his mind fixed on his threat to kill her if his friends are hurt. Jinho's face is a mask of pure terror, realizing he is completely powerless in this situation. He is frozen to the spot, unable to take a single step as the girl's desperate words echo in his mind. A low sound emanates from the stairwell leading down to the school store, where the entrance is choked with grotesque, pulsating organic matter on the floor. This entire area is a nightmarish landscape of twisted flesh and monstrous tendrils, from which a massive sinewy arm rises up with terrifying speed. It slams down with crushing force, pinning Jinho to the ground beneath a hulking creature. His body is broken, life fading from his eyes as the monster holds him down. This creature then lifts its victim, a black sphere forming above him as it claims his soul. Back in the hallway, the girl grabs the other student, confused why there is no sphere above him. She screams in his face, demanding to know why Jinho's turn to be sacrificed has not come yet. Jingyu's mind flashes back to the girl's insane words, leaving him utterly bewildered, remembering her furious screams that she was a monster trying to save someone, and his own angry demands for her to explain her twisted, sacrificial plan. In the present, he sees the horrifying result. The school store is a monster's nest. This entire area is covered in grotesque, pulsating tendrils from the creature's body, where Ishin awakens to find himself completely bound by the monster's flesh. Nearby, Jinjayu checks on Jisuk, desperately asking if she is alright, but she does not respond, a dark mark of corruption spreading across her face. He realizes with dawning horror that she has already been infected by the creature. Staring at her slumped form, he can only wonder how this happened so fast. Elsewhere in the nest, Ishin strains against his bonds with every ounce of his strength, his eyes filled with a sudden, desperate determination to break free. He then spots another captured student lying motionless on the floor nearby, whose arm suddenly shoots upward, straining against an unseen force, before a massive, sharpened tendril brutally impales his hand, pinning him to the ground. Ishin is frozen in shock as a tendril tightens around his neck. This creature yanks him off his feet, hoisting him upside down into the air, dangling him helplessly over its massive, gaping maw like a piece of meat. Its black sphere detaches, shooting directly toward him with terrifying speed, and slams into his body with a sickening, bone-jarring impact. Suddenly, he and Yuji are on the floor, bound but seemingly unharmed for the moment. A wave of pure terror washes over Ishin as he realizes they are completely trapped. This monster's tendrils snaking across the entire hallway, blocking any chance of escape. As one of the vines lifts him again, he braces himself, believing his end has finally come. But the tendrils suddenly shift their focus, slithering past him with purpose, releasing the students to grab a teacher who was hiding nearby, dragging her screaming from her spot. A horrified relief washes over Ishin as he realizes it was not his turn to die. This terrified teacher claws at the floor, desperately begging for someone to save her life, her pleas turning directly to Ishin as she screams out his name for help. He looks away, powerless, as she curses him for his inaction while being dragged to her doom. This teacher screams for her life, pinned beneath the grotesque creature's shadow. Ishin can only watch in paralyzed horror, unable to intervene or look away. As a massive tendril slams down with brutal finality, silencing her pleas forever, a strange, almost human-like hand rises from the monstrous form, revealing the creature's new, more defined upper body after its latest meal. Forced to witness the gruesome sacrifice, both he and Yuji remain bound and helpless, and a single, chilling thought begins to consume Ishin's mind completely. He realizes with dawning terror that he could very well be the next victim. This monster lifts the teacher's lifeless body, the black sphere ready to claim her essence, leaving our boy staring in wide-eyed shock at the horrifying spectacle. Against a blood-red background, the creature's silhouette consumes its prey whole, and now Ishin understands that only he and Yuji are left for the slaughter. One of the thick tendrils on the floor begins to stir, slithering with purpose. A metaphorical choice between two cards appears, a joker and a blank slate. Suddenly, the tendril constricts around Ishin, yanking him violently as his turn arrives. This monstrous creature lunges forward, its powerful tendrils lashing out with deadly speed. One vine wraps tightly around Ishin's leg, yanking him helplessly across the corrupted floor. In his terror, he curses Jinjayu for abandoning them to this horrifying fate. More tendrils ensnare his body, lifting him effortlessly as he begs for a moment's pause, pinning him against the wall in a final, crushing embrace as he finally gives up hope. This creature prepares to absorb him, its black sphere glowing ominously above its gaping maw. But at that exact moment, Jingyu appears, his fist clenched with grim determination. He stands at the top of the stairs, staring down the beast that has his friends captive, catching Ishin's attention, who can only stare in disbelief at his sudden arrival. Jingyu reveals his plan, holding up a bottle and telling the monster it is time to eat. With a powerful throw, he hurls the bottle directly at the distracted creature's head, recalling how it instinctively bit its victims, a reflex he is counting on now. His entire strategy hinges on the monster's instinct to bite anything thrown at its mouth. A flicker of utter confusion crosses his face as his plan immediately goes wrong. And the bottle simply bounces off the creature's head, its fangs strangely missing. Ishin stares in disbelief from the floor, wondering what that crazy kid just did. Up on the stairs, Hongjin furiously decides he has to try something else. But a massive tendril whips out from the monster below with blinding speed, striking Hongjin before he can even process the sudden, brutal assault. He is violently thrown up the stairs, crashing hard against the concrete landing. Still bound below, Ishin can only watch in horror, calling out Hongjin's name. As the boy lies motionless in a cloud of dust at the top of the stairs, Hongjin's eyes are wide with terror, realizing he has lost all feeling in his body. A tendril drags him back down, his breath catching as he struggles uselessly. His face shows a final moment of despair as the infection begins to take hold, pulled helplessly toward the hulking creature waiting at the bottom of the steps. Its gaping maw opens wide, revealing the dark sphere of consumption within its throat, and the sphere itself begins to sprout tiny, writhing tendrils of its own. Elsewhere, a girl's foot crushes a small, discarded object on the pavement, where the student who started this mess concludes there is no way to defeat that monster now. A grim determination fills the girl's eyes as she formulates a desperate new plan, realizing that if her group cannot handle the situation, she will need outside help. Her gaze falls upon a grotesque creature on the field, deciding it is their only hope. But the monster remains completely still, forcing her to take more drastic measures. In a burst of frustration, she screams an insult to provoke the creature into action. Hoping her desperate taunt was enough to finally get its attention, she looks back out only to find the beast on the field has not moved an inch, its massive, tooth-filled maw remaining shut despite her frantic shouting. Which sends her into a panic, wondering why it is ignoring her now of all times. Unsure of what to do next, she considers approaching the creature directly, but immediately dismisses the idea as a suicide mission, searching for something to throw instead. Her hand closes around a small coin, a desperate, last-ditch idea forming, and with newfound resolve, she prepares to use it as a projectile. She hurls the tiny piece of metal with all her strength, aiming for the monster's hand. And the coin lands perfectly on its target, yet the creature remains completely motionless. This girl stares in disbelief, wondering why her desperate plan failed so miserably. On the field, the massive creature remains completely unresponsive to her taunts. A wave of panic hits her as she realizes she is running out of precious time. Meanwhile, Hongjin is dragged helplessly down the stairs toward the waiting beast, its dark sphere pulsing with an unnatural energy, sprouting tiny, writhing limbs. As the infection spreads across his face, he accepts that this is his end. But a final surge of defiance makes him struggle, refusing to die without a fight. Suddenly, the black sphere shoots from the creature's mouth with terrifying speed, slamming directly into his chest with a sickening, crushing impact. From the floor, Ishin can only scream his friend's name in absolute horror. But something strange happens as the sphere begins to lift Hongjin into the air. This monster itself seems confused, its own tendrils now wrapping around its head. In that moment, the vines binding Ishin suddenly release their grip, setting him free. He looks up in shock, trying to understand what is happening to Hongjin, who now floats helplessly in the air, suspended by some unknown power. Ishin lunges forward with desperate speed, trying to catch his falling friend. As Hongjin tumbles helplessly through the air after the monster's brutal attack, but our boy manages to grab him just before he hits the corrupted ground. He cradles Hongjin's head, frantically asking if he is still alive after that hit, screaming for him to wake up because they have to get out of there right now. But Hongjin's eyes are vacant, the dark infection already spreading across his face. This injured boy reveals he has lost all feeling in the lower half of his body, prompting a panicked Ishin to insist on carrying him to safety on his back. With ragged breaths, Hongjin tells him to forget it and just save Yuji instead. A sacrifice Ishin immediately refuses, vowing to get them all out of this nightmare. Holding his paralyzed friend, he is struck by the terrifying reality of their situation, wondering if the beast will even give him time to make two separate trips. His mind races with an impossible choice: abandon one or risk losing them all. Suddenly, Hongjin grabs his tie, pulling him in close for a final word. His eyes filled with a strange clarity as he says something important is now gone. Jingyu is frozen in place, the sheer horror of the scene overwhelming his senses. He grits his teeth, sweat pouring down his face as he forces himself to act. Kneeling down, Jingyu tells Ishin he is saving Yuji first but will be right back. He furiously demands his friend stay alive, promising he will absolutely return for him. And Ishin can only manage a weak, gurgling response, telling him to go. With that, Jingyu sprints away, leaving his injured friend behind for the moment. He quickly finds Yuji sitting dazed on the floor, calling out her name, then helps the disoriented girl to her feet, struggling to support her weight. Meanwhile, the monster clutches its head, seemingly disoriented from the earlier attack. Jingyu carries Yuji down the corrupted hallway, trying to make a desperate escape. As the creature watches them retreat from the bottom of the stairs, he rounds a corner, desperate to get Yuji to safety before the monster recovers. But a massive tendril whips through the air with blinding speed, aiming for his back, striking his backpack with a sharp, jarring impact that staggers him forward. Reacting instantly, he pulls out a pair of scissors and drives them into the attacking limb. This creature's maw opens, the black sphere of consumption hovering ominously within. Back on the stairs, Jingyu pants heavily, stabbing a fleshy tendril with a pair of scissors, while his other hand clutches a small black device he is desperately counting on. Below, the monster lets out a furious roar, its entire body shaking with rage, and a crazed look fills Jingyu's eyes as he confirms the device he found still works. Lying on the corrupted ground, he prepares to put his desperate new plan into action. But the beast suddenly slams a tendril down, shattering the concrete floor in a show of force, its massive fanged mouth gaping wide as it unleashes a deafening shriek. A monstrous hand shoots out from the dust cloud, grabbing Jingyu by the ankle, hoisting him upside down and dangling him helplessly over its waiting jaws. This bottle he threw earlier lies forgotten as the creature prepares to consume him, but a sudden impact on its chest causes the monster to recoil in surprise. Jingyu is violently thrown back up the stairs, a matching blast erupting from his own body, leaving him sprawled on the landing as the dark infection spreads rapidly across his face. Through his fading vision, he believes this is the final, horrifying scene of his life. Jingyu's mind flashes with an image of the grotesque creature that struck him down. His consciousness narrows to a single point, a scene he never could have imagined. As his vision blurs and the world around him begins to fade away completely, he wonders if this is how it ends, like a television screen simply blinking out, finding himself in a cold, dark void where all the pain has strangely vanished, and an ethereal outline of his body floats in the abyss, questioning if this is hell. He is completely blind in the oppressive, absolute blackness surrounding him, shivering and alone, fearing this empty existence might be his eternal fate. But a sudden thought breaks through his despair, a flicker of understanding. This cold, the darkness, the muttering to himself, it all feels eerily familiar, reminding him of the infected girl trembling at her desk, her face pale with fear, and then a memory of Hong Jin surfaces, shivering from the cold right before he turned. A horrifying realization begins to dawn on him in the silent void. These are not the final moments of death, but the early symptoms of monsterization. Meaning the black sphere that hit him was not a killing blow, but a seed of infection. Jingyu lies on the stairs, the infection consuming him as he accepts his fate. His mind races with the terrifying thought of his body twisting into a monster, just like the other students who were consumed by this horrific transformation. A change that would force him to turn on and kill his own friends. The sheer horror of this possibility grips him as he stares at his own hands. Flashing back to the faces of the very people he would be forced to hunt. A desperate resolve hardens in his eyes. He absolutely has to stop this now, but he frantically wonders if there is any way to halt the monsterization process at all. Suddenly, a realization hits him. There was one person who did not fully transform, recalling the body of Choi T1 who died but never became a hulking beast. Jingyu forces his fading consciousness to focus, trying to understand how it was possible. Searching for the key difference that separated T1 from everyone else. A new theory forms in his mind. Perhaps it was not that T1 resisted becoming a monster, but that something else entirely had prevented the final change. He concludes that T1 could not finish transforming because he was already dead. In his fading consciousness, Jingyu realizes the only way to not become a monster is to die before the transformation completes, a grim but logical conclusion. This horrifying truth settles in. He must sacrifice himself to save his friends. But a strange sound echoes through the darkness, pulling him back from the brink. He snaps back to reality, shocked to find himself still alive despite the infection, his body feeling heavy and alien as he collapses onto the corrupted ground. With his last breath, he accepts his fate, ready to die for his friends. When he feels the black sphere now lodged in his head, his thoughts fading away. Suddenly, a grotesque creature lunges from behind, sinking its teeth into his shoulder, and the infection explodes through his body, twisting his arm into a monstrous claw. Elsewhere, the girl who failed to get the beast's attention steps onto the field, walking directly toward the massive monster, finally catching its gaze. A wave of fear hits her, but she is relieved it is finally looking her way. Yet the creature remains unnervingly still, forcing her to get even closer to provoke it. She glances back toward the school, worried she has gone too far to lead it to her target. This girl begins to doubt her plan, fearing her friends are already lost, but she forces the dark thoughts away, refusing to give in to despair, steeling herself with the knowledge that if she fails, everyone dies. Suddenly, the massive creature on the field lets out a terrifying roar, and a wave of instant regret washes over her, realizing this was a huge mistake. As she takes a single, hesitant step back from the approaching threat, this beast launches itself through the air, landing with explosive force right before her, sending her into a state of pure panic, not mentally prepared for the assault. She throws herself to the side just as the monster crashes into the spot she just occupied, hitting the ground hard and skidding across the grass from the force of her dive, looking back in sheer disbelief that she somehow managed to evade the attack. With the monster temporarily obscured by a cloud of dust, she knows this is her only chance. Its massive hand shown embedded deep within the shattered concrete steps, leaving the creature momentarily stunned and confused by its own powerful charge, having completely smashed its way through the front of the school building. This girl on the field looks back in confusion, wondering what just happened. She hopes the beast is trapped in the rubble, unable to give chase. But her terrified expression reveals she still has to lure it even further away. Stealing her nerves, she turns to run again, determined to complete her mission, just as the creature's massive hands begin to pull free from the debris. A sudden projectile shooting from the dust cloud makes her freeze in shock. Paralyzed on the running track, she can only stare at the new approaching horror, as a completely different spider-like monster emerges from the school's wreckage. Her mind reels in disbelief, utterly unprepared for this second attacker, while the new beast prepares to launch a black sphere from its head. Meanwhile, the grotesque creature inside the school forms a similar dark orb, its monstrous arm pulsing as the energy condenses within its grasp, now holding the completed sphere of destruction in its alien-like claws. It rears back with a powerful motion, aiming down the corrupted hallway, and hurls the sphere with incredible force toward a window at the far end. From inside the school, a fleshy tendril shatters a window, shooting out into the open, its grotesque hand clutching a familiar black sphere, the seed of infection. This creature's gaze locks onto a lone student sprinting through a nearby alleyway, while elsewhere Jingyu struggles with Yuji, deciding he must hide her in a warehouse. Suddenly, a fanged maw appears, letting out a low, menacing growl at its new prey. And the targeted student collapses to the ground, his corrupted hand falling limp. His consciousness is plunged into a void, facing the overwhelming black sphere. On his knees, the infection already spreading, he understands what is happening to him, as back in reality the sphere slams him into a wall with bone-shattering force, pinning him as grotesque tendrils erupt from the impact, consuming his body. His mind flashes to his friends, the very people he will now be forced to hunt. And the sphere's will pulses through him, a constant guttural growl in his head. With empty black eyes, he realizes the horrifying truth: he is going to kill them. This is a fate he absolutely refuses to accept, fighting back with his last thoughts, a final moment of human resolve twisting his face as he rejects the monster's control. Jingyu's consciousness is overwhelmed, the monster's voice echoing in his mind. His hand cracks and reshapes itself into a monstrous, gnarled claw. While the transformation accelerates, his neck stretching into a grotesque, spiky maw, and the black sphere at its core pulses with a dark, corrupting energy. Now a mindless beast, the creature that was once Jingyu stands silently on the stairs, its twisted arm whipping forward to launch the black sphere like a deadly projectile. This infectious orb hurtles through the air with incredible velocity, aimed directly at the original monster that had been hunting the students. That beast freezes, sensing the incoming attack just moments before impact, as the wall behind it begins to crack under immense pressure, and then explodes outward as the sphere strikes the creature with devastating force. This monster stumbles forward, dazed and confused by the unexpected assault from behind, while outside, the massive creature on the field senses the commotion, its red eye glowing. Back inside, the injured school monster looks up, enraged by the attack from another beast. Turning its head to locate the new threat that has just entered the fight, two grotesque monsters face off, one marked by a red sphere and the other by a black one. They immediately clash in a flurry of fangs, a brutal impact shaking the scene, as the black sphere creature reels from the vicious strikes to its head and neck. Another powerful blow lands on its shoulder, the red sphere monster pressing its advantage. While its bladed arm whips through the air, preparing for another devastating attack, it relentlessly continues the assault, hammering its opponent with savage force, its claws digging deep into the other monster's flesh in a brutal display. This red symbol on its face glows with an intense, menacing energy, but the black sphere beast retaliates with a massive arm swinging down from above. This powerful strike smashes into the ground, shattering the floor tiles with immense force, leaving the creature clutching its head, seemingly dazed from the missed blow. In that moment of weakness, the red-marked monster looms over it, a silent, terrifying threat. This dazed beast quickly recovers, raising a bladed limb for a desperate counterattack, and it lashes out with blinding speed, landing a clean strike on its aggressor, sending the red sphere monster flying back from the sheer force of the blow. This red sphere monster takes the full force of the blow to its head, staggering back. Jingyu's transformed body stands tall, its gaping maw ready for the next phase of the fight. Knocked to its knees, the original school beast slowly recovers from the powerful strike, its rage building as the red sphere on its head glows with a murderous light. A vision of its prey flashes before its eyes, a lone student frozen on the stairs, fueling its fury as it unleashes a bladed tendril with terrifying speed, and the attack smashes directly into the Jingyu monster's face with a deafening crash. A relentless barrage of strikes follows, hammering its corrupted body with brutal force, as the red sphere beast continues its vicious assault on the newcomer. But strange fungal growths begin to sprout from the black sphere monster's wounds, though the red beast tears into its opponent, seemingly overwhelming it with pure aggression. Meanwhile, in a quiet alley, a small warehouse stands as a temporary safe haven, where Yuji lies unconscious on the cold concrete floor after being hidden away. A different student watches over her, panting as he confirms she is still breathing, wondering why the monster that saw him simply passed by without attacking. Hiding nearby, a student hears the crash, wondering if Jingyu somehow caused the destruction. His hand trembles on the doorknob, pushing aside his fear to check if anyone is alive. And he stands silently before the door, preparing to face whatever lies beyond. He glances back one last time, calling out to the unconscious Yuji with a grim expression, deciding he is a liability and leaving her behind, hoping she will wake up and escape. With newfound resolve, he firmly grips the handle and prepares to exit the room, but he freezes in the doorway, shocked by the scene of utter devastation outside. Through the dust, he sees the red sphere monster lying amidst the school's wreckage, and he peeks out from cover, his mind reeling at the impossible sight before him. He then realizes the beast is not just injured, it is being attacked by another monster. A brutal strike lands with a sickening crunch, sending a spray of red across its body, revealing the black sphere creature looming over it, pressing a vicious assault. This red-marked beast staggers back, completely overwhelmed by the relentless attack, its body pummeled by the other monster's powerful tendril-covered limbs, and the creature that was once Jingyu stands triumphant over its fallen rival. This black sphere beast impales its opponent's head with a sharpened limb, but the red-marked monster bites down, shattering the appendage with its powerful jaws, then whips around with incredible force, sending its attacker flying through the school hallway, smashing the creature that was once Jingyu through an exterior wall with a deafening crash. Debris explodes outward as the monster's body tears through the brick building, knocking a nearby student unconscious from the sheer force of the impact. His hand lies limp on the concrete, a victim of the collateral damage, until a grotesque, tendril-like hand reaches down to grab him from the rubble. Meanwhile, the red sphere monster lands another brutal punch to its rival's face, leaving the black sphere beast looking up in a daze, momentarily stunned by the assault, which gives its aggressor the opening to form a massive blade from its arm, bringing the weapon down in a vicious arc that slices deep into its foe's body, its red-marked face glowing with savage intensity as it dominates the fight. This black sphere creature collapses to its knees, grievously wounded and overwhelmed, as the victorious monster lunges forward to deliver the final, decisive blow. This red sphere monster braces itself, its many tendrils flaring out in defiance, but the black sphere beast lands another devastating blow directly to its head, sending the creature reeling backward from the sheer, overwhelming force of the impact. Jingyu's monster form prepares another attack, its black sphere pulsing with dark energy, striking one of the red beast's limbs with explosive power and precision. This defeated monster is slammed against the ceiling, its body twisted and broken. Its own reflection appears in the red sphere, a final glimpse of its monstrous form. as the core on its head begins to glow with an unstable, violent energy. This red orb pulses erratically just above its fanged maw, ready to detonate, and then its entire head erupts in a gruesome explosion of flesh and tendrils. Nearby, a student rounds the corner, completely oblivious to the brutal fight that just ended, only to turn and witness the horrifying sight of the monster disintegrating before him. Another student is frozen in terror on the stairs, trapped by the gruesome aftermath, watching the creature's head burst apart in its violent, agonizing final moments. Now alone, the creature that was Jingyu stands victorious, its next target unknown. A student listens as the monstrous footsteps finally begin to fade into the distance, and the creature that was Jingyu is seen shambling away through a ruined doorway. Peeking from cover, the boy confirms the immediate threat has passed, his relief palpable, only to find another classmate slumped on the stairs, unconscious and badly injured. He rushes over, desperately trying to wake his friend and check if he is still alive. Placing a hand on his chest, he feels a faint but steady heartbeat, a small sign of hope. But with his friend unable to move, he realizes they are both completely trapped. His gaze then catches a red sphere outside a window, signaling a new monster's arrival. And a different beast now stalks the school grounds, its red core glowing in its fanged maw. Meanwhile, a girl hides near a tree, desperately hoping she has not been noticed, her mind racing as she tries to figure out what the creature is planning to do. A heavy footstep suddenly cracks the pavement, showing the monster is on the move. Her eyes widen in absolute terror as she realizes it is coming straight for her, and the beast leaps high into the air, soaring directly over her hiding spot. With its jaws agape, the monster descends to deliver a swift and brutal attack. A blade descends upon the massive creature's core, now strangely exposed on the field. Suddenly, a lanky, multi-limbed beast strikes the vulnerable core with incredible, explosive force. While the massive creature's disembodied head can only watch the assault on its body, and hiding nearby, a female student questions why the giant is not defending itself, as the lanky monster continues its relentless barrage of attacks on the defenseless behemoth. Seeing her chance, the student forms a desperate plan while the monsters are distracted. But her attention is drawn upward as the lanky beast suddenly scales the school building. She recognizes it as the same creature from the night before, now smashing through a window, before it launches itself back down, hammering the giant with another flurry of blows. This agile attacker leaps high into the air, preparing a final decisive strike, leaving the giant's severed head to stare blankly at its own impending destruction. But the attack misses its mark, instead shattering the ground with incredible power. And the lanky monster looms over the fallen giant, growling in what seems like triumph. Its massive head lies defeated on the grass, the red sphere rolling from its jaws, where a dark corruption begins to spread across the surface of the glowing red orb. This red monster's core clatters to the ground, now a lifeless black orb. In some other realm, a crowned entity is suddenly choked by an unseen force, utterly confused. A dark projectile, the very essence of the black sphere monster, shoots toward its face. This strange being collapses, its body twisting in agony as the corruption consumes it. Back in the school, the student knocked out by the blast slowly regains consciousness, his face battered, and another student carries him down the stairs, demanding to know what happened. His rescuer pants with exhaustion, telling him to just hang on a little longer despite the pain. But the injured boy weakly clutches his chest, barely able to speak from the effort. He asks to be put down, claiming he does not feel well, worrying his friend. Then he clarifies that he feels strangely fine, a statement that makes no sense. With impossible strength, his feet plant firmly on the ground, a sign of a miraculous recovery. Now standing on his own, the formerly wounded student seems perfectly healthy, shocking his rescuer, who glances back at the catastrophic damage, wondering how anyone could survive that impact. Just as he explains that he hid Yuji in a safe place, a girl emerges from the rubble, and she stares in disbelief, calling out the rescuer's name, Hyuseolgi. Two students reunite, one bruised and shocked while the other is just glad he is alive, as a female student orders them to find supplies while she goes to check on Yuji herself. She promises to return quickly, sending the two boys on their way down the hall. Frustrated by her stubbornness, the backpack-wearing student decides they will just follow her orders. He resigns himself to the task, annoyed at her headstrong nature but moving forward, while the girl sprints through an alley toward the warehouse where Yuji was hidden, reaching the door and catching her breath before preparing to enter the room. She bursts inside calling for Yuji, only to freeze at the sight before her, her eyes widening in pure shock and confusion at the unexpected scene. A large, unknown student is crouched over Yuji's unconscious body on the floor. This girl stares him down, demanding to know who he is and what he is doing. While elsewhere, the school's empty snack bar stands silent and abandoned. Inside, the other two students are gathering whatever food they can find from the shelves, with the main student explaining he ditched his bag because it was slowing him down. Suddenly, another person's footsteps approach them from behind, interrupting their search. A new group of students arrives, their leader greeting the boys with a menacing smirk. This rescued student glares up from the floor, his expression filled with silent fury, while Hyuseolgi steps between them, trying to de-escalate the sudden, tense confrontation. From the new group, a girl with glasses watches intently, a sense of familiarity nagging at her. This bruised student's mind races, trying to place where he has seen this person before, and then it hits him with a jolt of sudden and terrifying realization. Their leader grabs him by the collar, aggressively demanding to know what his problem is, mocking his battered appearance while his friend just sneers beside him. But the boy's eyes are wide with a different kind of fear, noticing something impossible. His memory flashes back to another girl he encountered just recently. Recalling the horrifying, corrupted face of the student who was once Kim Sujin, he remembers the powerlessness he felt right after seeing her transform into a monster. A vivid image of the creature's fanged maw burning in his mind, followed by the memory of its violent and brutal end. Back in the present, Hugh Seulgi looks down at his friend, confused by his sudden silence. This miraculously healed student tries to explain that he thinks he became a monster, but Hugh Seulgi just stares back, completely unconvinced by the absurd claim, and he dismisses the story, telling his friend to just grab some ramen quickly. His friend insists he is not hurt and that his transformation was absolutely real. Nearby, another group of students nervously gathers supplies, wanting to leave before monsters arrive. Ignoring the strange confession, Hugh Seulgi tries to force a snack on him, prioritizing their survival, but the boy pushes it away, revealing he saw him from inside a container earlier. Frustrated, Hugh Seulgi just wants him to take the food and stop talking nonsense, until a sudden, horrifying realization begins to dawn on him. He cautiously peeks out the doorway, his mind racing to connect the dots. A flash of memory reveals the red sphere monster that was just defeated outside, leaving Hugh Seulgi stunned as he realizes his friend might be telling the truth. Their argument draws the attention of a girl from the other group of survivors, as the boy confirms that what happened to him was undeniably real. Suddenly panicked, Hugh Seulgi grabs him by the collar, demanding they get out immediately. This bruised student suddenly grabs his friend, insisting they move everyone to a safer room. But his companion stops him cold, looking intently at something just out of frame, where a girl with glasses appears, asking for some of their supplies with a sly smile. She reminds him they are classmates, but he coldly dismisses her, saying he does not know her, his words leaving her to clench a fist in silent frustration as he turns away. A strange, calculating look crosses her face as she watches the two boys depart, and the bruised student asks his friend if he was being held against his will. This girl admits she was lying about being bullied daily, though she was still targeted, which only seems to annoy the bruised student, who asks why he should even care. Just then, the student who interrupted them earlier reaches for some cup noodles, and the backpack-wearing student tells him to just wait there while they handle things. But the buzzcut student misinterprets their words, his expression darkening with suspicion. Believing they have just threatened someone named Yoonji and are planning a rebellion, he imagines them trying to steal the girl away from her supposed boyfriend, Sungjun, which sends him into a rage, screaming at them to back off as the confrontation explodes. Hugh Seulgi furiously confronts his friend, demanding to know what is wrong with him. His mind flashes back to the girl with glasses who told him to just wait for their return. But a menacing masked student suddenly appears, demanding to know what he discussed with Yoonji. Nearby, a gray-haired student watches with suspicion, questioning the other's hostile intentions, and Hugh Seulgi steps between them, telling the aggressor to stop talking nonsense and back off. But the bully just scoffs, removing his mask to reveal a scarred face and promising a lesson, leaving Hugh Seulgi to question if he is insane for trying to start a fight right now. Unfazed, the aggressor drops his supplies, declaring he could not care less about the monsters outside, his face contorting with rage as he snarls that he'd rather become monster food than back down. This recovered student can only stare, bewildered by the sheer intensity of the bully's rage. Meanwhile, outside under a clear blue sky, another conflict is already underway. A severed monster limb soars through the air, followed by a volley of sharp projectiles. On the ground below, the lanky beast stands over the body of a much larger creature, its massive opponent lying broken on the grass, a dark sphere visible in its gaping maw, and without hesitation, the agile attacker brings its foot crashing down on its foe's core. This lanky monster's hand twitches, a sign of life returning to its battered form. As its defeated foe's corrupted core is flung away, now a lifeless black sphere, tendrils of darkness writhe as the victorious creature begins to absorb its prize, swallowing the dark orb whole and letting its power surge through its monstrous body. While the giant's jaw, now empty of its power source, lies useless on the ground, this lanky beast takes a heavy step forward, its transformation seemingly complete, and it crouches over the remains, a low growl rumbling from its chest in triumph. Back in the warehouse, the girl continues to stare down the stranger, demanding answers, and the large student looks up from Yuji's body, startled by her sudden appearance. She presses him again, her eyes darting around the room for a potential weapon, her gaze landing on a barrel of baseball bats as she weighs her chances in a fight. Panicked, the man insists he is not a threat, claiming he is actually a teacher. But unconvinced, she grabs a bat, ready to defend herself as he pleads his case. He explains he was also hiding when Yuji was suddenly brought into the room, recalling how Hugh Seulgi abandoned the unconscious girl after muttering to himself, creating a terrible misunderstanding. This large student defensively claims he was only checking on Yuji's condition as a teacher would. But the girl questions why his pants are unzipped, her suspicion growing with every word. He glances down in a panic, realizing he has been caught in a compromising position. A dark, menacing aura surrounds him as he processes her accusation, his head bowed low, and he snaps his head up with a furious snarl, his flimsy excuse completely falling apart. Without a moment's hesitation, she brings a baseball bat crashing down onto his skull, leaving him knocked out cold on the warehouse floor as she stands over his motionless body. She catches her breath, shaken by her own violent outburst, but relieved the threat is gone. Until a faint sound from Yuji draws her attention back to her unconscious friend. Rushing to her side, she desperately tries to wake her, asking if she can hear her voice. And she hoists Yuji onto her back, determined to carry her to safety no matter what. But the man suddenly rises behind them, his face now hidden by a dark, sinister mask. His arm wraps around her neck in a brutal chokehold, cutting off her escape entirely. And he squeezes with terrifying force, ignoring her desperate struggles and muffled cries. Her vision blurs as she gasps for air, the pressure becoming absolutely unbearable. Elsewhere in the school, a brutish student violently attacks a girl while another lies unconscious, his face a mask of pure rage as he screams that he will do whatever he wants, his furious rant about punishing disrespectful students echoing from an empty classroom doorway. And he lifts another girl into the air, threatening to kill anyone who stands in his way, his expression twisted in a terrifying, animalistic snarl as he continues his rampage. Back in the snack bar, a strange clawed hand reaches for the doorframe, and a student wearing a monstrous crown-like helmet steps into the room, dropping a heavy supply bag onto the floor with a loud thud that startles everyone. Another member of this new group, a tough-looking student, glares ahead with a grimace, leaving the miraculously healed student to stare back, completely baffled by this sudden escalation. This girl with glasses, Yoonji, tries to calm her companion, telling him now is not the time, urging him to just focus on gathering supplies and ignore the others for now. While their apparent leader, a gray-haired student named Sungjun, calmly picks up a bowl, and the tough-looking student hands a bag to Yoonji, telling her to give it to him. Sungjun turns with a confident smirk, asking what kind of person their new rival is. Hyuseolgi asks what the other group is muttering about while his friend hopes the worst is over, but their conversation is cut short as the other students approach them directly. These two boys glance out a window, still worried that Yuji has not woken up yet, forcing their attention back to the immediate threat as the bullies block their path. A much larger student steps forward, cracking his knuckles and promising to teach them a lesson. Hyuseolgi cannot believe they are actually trying to fight, asking if they're serious right now, but his friend points to the look in the bully's eyes, realizing they have no choice. He then declares that there is, in fact, another way to handle this situation, whispering to Hyuseolgi that he is going to try and borrow the monster's power. His friend stares back in shock, questioning if that is even a remotely sane idea. But there is no time to debate as the large aggressor throws a powerful punch, which the boy narrowly dodges, stunned by the rock-like force behind the missed blow. Enraged, the bully winds up for another strike, screaming that he will not wait around, and swings again, but the student ducks underneath to land a solid counter to the gut, leaving the aggressor stunned as the boy glares back, mocking his pathetic punch. This bully stumbles back in disbelief, utterly shocked by the force of the blow, while Hyuseolgi's friend stands silently, his mind drifting into a dark memory. He finds himself alone in a vast, empty void, recalling the moment it all began, trying to piece together how he managed to tap into that terrifying power just once before. His back to the darkness, he remembers not wanting to become a monster at all. In fact, he had chosen to end his own life rather than let the transformation take him. Until a massive dark sphere materialized, flooding his very soul with a tangible fear. He questions if he somehow destroyed that sphere, causing it to vanish from his mind. And a shocking realization suddenly dawns on him as the memory becomes clearer. Just after the sphere disappeared, a shining path of light appeared in the darkness, revealing a girl named Sujin at the end, her eyes black voids as she transformed. And in his desperate attempt to save her, he somehow became that red-eyed monster himself. Though he does not understand the full picture, he clenches his fist with newfound resolve, staring into the light as he finally accepts what he must do to survive. This memory of his monster form holding its core flashes, solidifying his grim determination. A single foot crosses a glowing line, stepping into an unknown dark space. This step echoes with a strange finality, leaving a clear imprint behind, revealing a vision of a monstrous creature with a dark, pulsating core. He finds himself walking toward a long-haired student, calling out to someone named Sujin, and this person turns around, seemingly confused by his sudden presence in the void. He steels himself, believing this is the next step to becoming a monster himself, his fist clenching as he mentally promises to return soon, urging someone to hold on. But the student before him asks if he is a person named Hong Jingu, creating confusion, and stunned by this deviation from his plan, he asks if she is all right. She stumbles forward on corrupted, veiny legs, her voice trailing off ominously. He recoils in terror as she begs him to stay back, her own fear palpable, until her face contorts into a monstrous snarl, grabbing him with a deadly threat. She violently tackles him to the ground, screaming that he has invaded her personal space, pinning him down with a crazed look as she furiously demands that he get out. Her hands wrap around his throat, squeezing with inhuman strength as he struggles in shock. In a dark, endless void, the boy feels his breath leaving him, desperate to escape. A bright light appears below, a potential path out of the suffocating darkness. But his very form begins to disintegrate, his hand dissolving into particles, his mind flashing to the monster's core, a dark sphere of power floating in the sky. Suddenly, he is back in that dark space, gasping as if he has returned from somewhere else, and he looks down at his hands, questioning what is happening to him with a feral look. Alone in the void, he wonders if he must repeat the terrifying process to gain power. A grim determination settles on his face as he prepares to try again, knowing he must return to that blinding light to find what he is looking for. But he remembers the monstrous entity that waits there, ready to attack him on sight, leaving the boy to question if he can even survive the ordeal a second time, his fear growing as he wonders what will happen if the path out fails to appear. This terrifying thought of death crosses his mind, a fate he desperately wants to avoid. Then back in reality, he lands a devastating blow right across the bully's face, his eyes wide with a mixture of shock and feral intensity from the borrowed power. This boy's counterpunch lands squarely on the bully's chest with explosive force. leaving the aggressor completely stunned, wondering if he is fighting a human or a monster. But the boy's eyes are fixed on something far beyond the physical fight, his strange expression leaving his opponent utterly bewildered and confused. A wave of terror washes over the bully as he realizes the boy is not even looking at him. In his mind, the helmeted monster appears right beside him, calling him a friend, and a monstrous grin spreads across his face as he begins to channel its dark power. He offers his help to the creature, fully prepared to accept its terrifying strength. While nearby, Sungjun casually puts his arm around Yoonji as they go through the supplies. Leaning in close with a sinister smile, he asks what she personally thinks of him, but their conversation is cut short by a sudden, sickening crack from across the room. This jarring sound startles Sungjun, who whips his head around in genuine alarm. Suddenly, the large aggressor screams for help, his face a mask of pure terror, followed by a gruesome splatter against the wall as his cries echo horribly. This helmeted monster pins him to the floor, forcing the bully to beg for his life.